Chapter 736. The way of the immortal official. The blood prison. Great Saint and Sin have been gone for a millennium, traveling in the human world. Time passes slowly, but for the disciples in the dojo, it seems like they were only gone for a day. During his travels in the human world, Sin broadened his understanding. He encountered all sorts of things, saved lives, was deceived, and even killed people. He also had conflicts with major sections. However, all grudges disappeared when he returned to the Taoist field of the beginningless, because no one could forcefully charge against Sin. These experiences made him grow a lot, and he began to contemplate what kind of person he wanted to become. The blood prison. Great Saint followed Sin, saying he wouldn't interfere, but when faced with the siege of major sects, he couldn't stand by and took action. This also eased his relationship with Sin. Those two quieted down, but among the third-generation disciples, a fearless one emerged. Guan didn't feel annoyed but found it interesting. After all, he wouldn't teach the third-generation disciples or the fourth-generation disciples. Watching their antics had its own charm. 30,000 years later, the celestial spirit Great World welcomed an unexpected guest. In the depths of the cosmos, at the World Gate, the celestial spirit god awaited the visitors. The World Gate emitted brilliant light, as bright as the sun. From the intense light within the gate, a figure slowly walked out. Feeling the other's celestial Tao destiny, the celestial spirit god raised his hand in salute and said, "The celestial spirit god greets the immortal monarch. May I know why the immortal monarch has come?" "I am Yin Xian, immortal monarch. I've come for the grand cause of the Shenyuan human venerable, the son of heaven. I've also come to seek immortal fate for the living beings of this realm." A voice came from the intense light, with a tone that was indifferent yet filled with undeniable pride. As the voice fell, a man in black robes stepped out from the intense light. He was tall and imposing, with two purple pythons coiled around his waist. The python heads wrapped around his back, raised high above his head like two colorful ribbons fluttering behind him. Hearing Yin Xian, immortal monarch's words, the celestial spirit god's expression remained unchanged. He replied, "The celestial spirit Great World does not wish to meddle in the contention for the Son of Heaven." If it were before, he would have hesitated. But now, with Guan supporting him and Gu An's disciple in the immortal class, what did he have to fear? Whether inside or outside the celestial court, he possessed confidence. Yin Xian, immortal monarch's gaze fell upon the celestial spirit god, as if trying to see through him. The celestial spirit god fearlessly met his gaze. As the intense light within the world gate faded, Yin Xian, immortal monarch was gradually engulfed by darkness, making him appear less like an immortal god and more like an evil god. "May I ask whose domain this realm belongs to?" Yin Xian, immortal monarch asked. Being refused by the celestial spirit god didn't anger him, for he understood the message the celestial spirit god was conveying. This guy had backers. The celestial spirit god frowned, not expecting the other to pursue the question. At that moment, a figure appeared behind the celestial spirit god, and the immortal light emitted from him caught the corner of the celestial spirit god's eye, causing him to turn his head instinctively. "I was wondering who it was, so it's Tai, immortal monarch." Yin Xian, immortal monarch's voice rang out. Looking at Tai, immortal monarch behind the celestial spirit god, he smiled. He wasn't afraid of the celestial spirit Great World having backers. He was only afraid if the backers of the celestial spirit Great World wanted to support the rival Son of Heaven. Tai, immortal monarch spoke. "Yin Xian, immortal monarch, the celestial spirit Great World was once under an order of destruction and has been removed from the registry of the 3,000 great worlds. Although it will be restored in the future, for now, it doesn't count in the Son of Heaven contention." Yin Xian, immortal monarch laughed. "Since you put it that way, I'll indeed give some face." Tai, immortal monarch nodded slightly. The celestial spirit god silently stepped aside, not obstructing the view of the two immortal monarchs. CTH Ovalfire. @ website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Yin Xian, immortal monarch and Tai, immortal monarch were clearly acquainted. However, the atmosphere between them was somewhat tense, making the celestial spirit god feel a sense of impending conflict. What's this? Does Yin Xian, immortal monarch have further teachings to impart, or does the human venerable have additional instructions? Tai, immortal monarch asked as he took a step forward, his aura bursting forth, causing the celestial spirit god's expression to change. Yin Xian, immortal monarch laughed. "No, I was just curious." It said that the Son of Heaven descended to this great world. I wonder if it's true or false. If it's true, do you want to investigate the Son of Heaven? Tai Immortal Monarch pressed, his attitude arrogant and domineering. How could I dare? Forget it. Consider it my intrusion. Xian Immortal Monarch shook his head, smiling, then turned and walked towards the world gate. His celestial Tao destiny activated the Tao intent within the world gate, causing a burst of heavenly Tao light to erupt, once again illuminating the cosmos. Tai Immortal Monarch and the celestial spirit god watched him walk into the world gate. Only when his presence completely disappeared did they look at each other. The celestial spirit god hesitated to speak. Tai Immortal Monarch's expression became calm. He said, if we don't act strong, he would surely return. Only by showing no fear of the Son of Heaven can the Son of Heaven behind him have apprehensions. After all, right now, the Son of Heaven's opponent is another Son of Heaven. We cannot afford internal conflicts. The celestial spirit god found this reasonable and stopped asking questions. Tai Immortal Monarch turned and left, leaving behind a parting remark. More immortal gods will descend to the lower realm. Be prepared. Before his words completely faded, Tai Immortal Monarch disappeared. The celestial spirit god wasn't worried. Instead, he thought that this guy was better at dealing with situations. No wonder he became an immortal monarch. Even the path of an immortal official requires talent, the celestial spirit god lamented in his heart, then shook his head and walked towards his meditation spot. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan was very pleased with Tai Immortal Monarch's attitude. He didn't need to instruct him. He already knew how to handle things. Neat, smart. As for Shenyuan Human Venerable behind Xian Immortal Monarch, Guan wasn't concerned, just a Miao Jin Daluo Immortal. Ancestor, how do you see my sword intent? Shangguan Xianer, standing in front of Guan, asked. She held a wooden sword, its blade imbued with sword intent. Guan was sitting on the steps carving a wooden statue and casually replied, not bad. Ancestor, could you be more attentive? No matter what I show you, you always say not bad, but I can never rank in the top 3 among the third-generation disciples, Shangguan Xianer pouted, her tone aggrieved and dissatisfied. Guan actually liked her attitude. The other third-generation disciples were too respectful and even reserved around him. Only Shangguan Xianer dared to show some emotions in front of him. Shangguan Xianer was very smart and knew her limits. Every word she said was rehearsed in her mind. Guan could hear her inner thoughts and didn't think she was hypocritical or pretentious. As long as she didn't harm others, what was wrong with using clever means to get closer? How about you go out to train like Sin? Guan looked up at her and smiled. Shangguan Xianer immediately shook her head and said, I won't go out. I have no enemies or family outside, so why go out? Going out isn't that easy to return. Shangguan Xianer thought to herself, not everyone could be like Sin and the Blood Prison Great Saint, and there were too many entanglements in the red dust. She was afraid of getting caught up in them. Rather than forming unnecessary karmic ties outside, she preferred to stay and focus on cultivating. Her goal was to become a powerful being like her ancestor, not to get married and start a family, and certainly not to form unnecessary relationships with karmic repercussions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 737. Great Tao Cause and Effect, Retribution for Evil. Guan listened to Shangguan Xianer's mental activity and found it amusing. What rumors were spreading in private? Those disciples who went out and never returned were not turned away by Guan. Go ask your teachers. You're not qualified for me to teach you yet. Guan replied, then continued carving the wooden statue in his hand. Shangguan Xianer widened her eyes, wanting to say something but ultimately held back. It seems my sword skills are still inadequate, not yet seen by the ancestor. Thinking this way, Shangguan Xianer felt she had gotten an answer. She demonstrated in front of Gu and just to see how her achievements stood. Since they were lacking, she would continue to practice. At least now she had more motivation to gain sword enlightenment. Once she figured it out, Shangguan Xianer became invigorated, her whole demeanor returning to her usual lively state. After saying a few words, she hurriedly left. Gu An's lips curved upwards as he continued to carve the wooden statue. Over the long years, he had many hobbies, and those he persisted in, he integrated into his cultivation practices. Like the wooden figure in his hand now, which seemed ordinary but contained profound mysteries. He wanted to turn these figures into a powerful combat force. The number he had stored was already considerable, though his cultivation realm was still insufficient. After Shangguan Xianer left, no one else came to disturb Guan. Until dusk, Shen Zhan, who was meditating in front of the artifact refining cauldron, opened her eyes. She looked at Guan, who was admiring the wooden figure in his hand, and said, "Guan, I saw someone who is inexplicably directed by karma to rescue her." After hearing this, Guan looked at her and asked, "Who is it?" While speaking, he followed Shen Zhan's karma, and what he saw and heard made his heart a little excited. Finally found her. It's a woman, meditating in the dark. That darkness. I can't describe, it's very oppressive. Shen Zhan took a deep breath and said seriously. Guan stood up, putting the wooden figure into his chest pocket. He looked at Shen Zhan and asked, "Do you want to go take a look?" Saw the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Shen Zhan, after hearing this, didn't immediately agree but hesitated and asked, "Would it be dangerous? Am I being manipulated by some powerful entity to draw you in?" After comprehending the Tao for millions of years, although she didn't practice qi absorption cultivation much, her enlightenment period was the longest. After achieving primordial Tao Emperor, she had the most reincarnation projections in the dojo, more than an Xian. Though an Xian never said it, Guan knew she already considered Shen Zhan her greatest future adversary for the Magic Battle Conference. The Blood Prison Great Saint was no longer a threat to her. With profound Tao practice and rich understanding of the path of cause and effect, she felt nothing in the world was coincidental. She couldn't possibly achieve enlightenment for no reason, nor develop a strong urge to rescue a stranger without cause. It must be some peerless great power plotting against her behind the scenes. What made her worthy of such scheming? She could only think of Guan. Indeed, someone in the unseen forces is guiding you to rescue that woman. Guan walked toward her, smiling as he spoke. Upon hearing this, Shen Zhan sighed in relief and asked, "You noticed this early on? Do you know that person? Let's go, we'll talk on the way." Guan came to her side and gently patted her shoulder. Shen Zhan stood up and followed in Guan's footsteps. As soon as she took a step, the surrounding scene suddenly changed. She found herself in darkness, with silver lines underfoot flowing forward endlessly like countless schools of fish. Guan walked ahead. Shen Zhen's gaze fell on his back, and her unease dissipated. She quickly caught up to walk shoulder to shoulder with Guan and curiously asked, "What is this place? Why is there no aura of the great Tao around?" "This is a void space opened up by the path of cause and effect. Although there seems to be nothing here, there are great cause and effect barriers at the edges. These barriers are products of the rules constructed by the 3,000 great Tao. Violating these rules will bring retribution, dissipating all Tao practice and suffering infinite misfortune until one's consciousness extinguishes." Guan answered. It was also his first time here. Even if a Tao extreme Daluo immortal came here, tainted by great cause and effect, they would meet a terrible end. When he used karma divine power to curse enemies, he suffered retribution from the great cause and effect, but compared to the barriers in this dimension, it was like a grain of rice compared to the moon. Though strong, the great cause and effect here couldn't harm primordial Tao fruit. In other words, a Xian Qi primordial immortal could come and go freely. The great cause and effect here would be like nothing to them. Great cause and effect. Does it mean bad karma? Shen Zhen muttered. You could understand it that way. Let me tell you a story next. Guan agreed, then began narrating the story of the Emperor of Eternal Life. The journey was long. He walked at a leisurely pace, telling the story on the surface, but in truth, he was using his Tao intent to help the trapped fairy Yaoxian dispel the retributions of great cause and effect. Fairy Yaoxian was entangled by great cause and effect, her consciousness sinking into a boundless abyss, constantly experiencing her worst fears, already breaking down. She hadn't entirely lost consciousness due to the Emperor's destiny protection. One had to admit, the Taoist Emperor truly was a marvelous creation, able to contend against the great Tao. For the immortal realm, Fairy Yaoxian's great cause and effect couldn't be dispelled, and the Emperor of Eternal Life was helpless. But for Guan now, he could resolve the retribution of her great cause and effect. At first, Shen Zhan wasn't very interested, listening while experiencing this unfamiliar and unknown cosmos. But soon she got captivated by the story of the Emperor of Eternal Life. Born into misery, orphaned, shouldering vengeance while cultivating, meeting a beloved but having to part, roaming across realms with an obsession but not saving the beloved before being hunted by immortal gods. Shen Zhen always had a habit of writing, but she too got absorbed in the life story of the Emperor of Eternal Life, her emotions swaying along. Mysteriously, she seemed to empathize with him. The Emperor of Eternal Life sacrificed himself in the great cause and effect steel, trying to use the most perfect creation of the path of cause and effect to search for Fairy Yaoxian. As Guan spoke to this point, he stopped, his gaze shifting to Shen Zhen. Shen Zhen understood. She asked, "The woman I saw is Fairy Yaoxian, and the karma that led me to save her is the Emperor of Eternal Live's obsession?" Guan answered, "That's right. Once Fairy Yaoxian is saved, this karma will be over, and you won't be affected anymore." Shen Zhen frowned and said, "But why did the Emperor of Eternal Life choose me? Do I have some connection to Fairy Yaoxian? Am I her descendant?" "No, you are not. But Sins are." "Am not? Then why me?" Shen Zhen couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, she thought of something, her eyes widened, and she asked in amazement, "Could it be you are the descendant of the Emperor of Eternal Life? No, what is your relationship with him? Are you his reincarnation?" The thought that Guan could be the Emperor of Eternal Life made Shen Zhen's feelings complicated and inexplicable. Guan shook his head with a smile. He has already died in the great cause and effect steel without a chance for reincarnation. I just knew him. That was true. The Emperor of Eternal Life had not reincarnated. Rather, he was Guan's reincarnation body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 738. Exile Realm. Upon hearing that Guan was not the reincarnation of the Emperor of Eternal Life, Shen Zhen couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Although Guan already had several women, the thought of Guan having had a memorable and reincarnated romance with a certain woman still made her a little uneasy. Guan could hear her thoughts and found it amusing. He had no intention of rekindling his past with Fairy Yaoxian. He too felt uneasy about it. He just needed to save Fairy Yaoxian and fulfill the Emperor of Eternal Live's obsession. As for what happens to Fairy Yaoxian afterward, that would be up to her. Shen Zhen asked a few more questions. She was full of curiosity about the Emperor of Eternal Life. His experiences sounded even more legendary than in Hao's, and she had also heard many names of cosmic planes and great beings in the stories, giving her a sense of touching the pinnacle of the great Tao. Guan, satisfying her curiosity, did not slow his pace. Though he seemed to be walking leisurely, each step took him a significant distance. However, this universe was too vast, far beyond comparison to the celestial spirit great world. After Guan dealt with all of Shen Zhen's questions and saw her fall silent, he quickened his pace. Shen Zhen looked up and saw a purple lotus blooming in the darkness ahead, emitting circles of purple light, beautiful and yet exuding a dangerous aura. When she saw the purple lotus, she barely had time to think before it suddenly appeared in front of her. Before she could react, Guan waved his sleeve, and a fierce wind arose at his feet, dispersing the purple lotus at once, revealing a figure. It was a woman in a white dress, sitting cross-legged with an upright, sacred posture, resembling an ancient female immortal, exuding an aura of desolation. Her delicate face, skin like white jade, and slightly furrowed brows stood out. What an extraordinary female immortal! No matter how many reincarnations Shen Zhen had projected into, seeing countless daughters of heaven, she was still astounded by Fairy Yaoxian's appearance and demeanor. What's wrong with her? Is she still alive? Shen Zhen asked cautiously, standing beside Guan, not daring to act rashly, afraid to disturb Fairy Yaoxian. Guan replied, "She's all right now, but her consciousness needs time to recover." "I see," Shen Zhen responded, yet she didn't understand what Guan had done. Did he save Fairy Yaoxian with just a wave of his hand? She watched Fairy Yaoxian silently, feeling her profound aura, her cultivation level unfathomable. So strong. Stronger than anyone she had ever seen, of course, except for Guan. Guan never revealed his aura. At first glance, he seemed like an ordinary person, but anyone who dared to challenge him would face his unrivaled power. The two fell silent, letting the void fall into complete stillness. After a long while, Shenzhen saw Fairy Yaoxuan's eyelids tremble slightly, making her nervous. The main character of Gu An's story was the Emperor of Eternal Life. She knew little about Fairy Yaoxuan's personality, but from the story, this Fairy Yaoxian seemed extraordinary, a formidable presence on the path of the Great Tao. Of course, what she feared more was knowing the relationship between Fairy Yaoxian and Gu En. Did they come to rescue Fairy Yaoxian just because of their acquaintance with the Emperor of Eternal Life? That sounded too far-fetched. This was not the right place, and how terrifying was the path of cause and effect. Fairy Yaoxian slowly opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was Gu En and Shenzhen. She could see Shenzhen's face clearly, but Gu An's face appeared blurry to her, only his outfit was distinct. Her eyes were empty, devoid of emotion, like a deep well, making Shenzhen's heart quiver. She did not speak, just quietly watched Gu En and Shenzhen. Gu En remained silent, knowing that Fairy Yaoxian was regaining her consciousness. Her cultivation had fallen to the Taoist collection Freedom Immortal Realm, but the Taoist Emperor's destiny still lingered. With time, she could recover all her memories. Thus, silence enveloped both sides once again. After the time of a stick of incense passed, just as Shenzhen was about to lose her patience, Fairy Yaoxian spoke. "Who are you? Are you the ones who expelled the cause and effect from me?" Her voice was hoarse, her words hesitant. Gu En answered. "You should be able to feel the cause and effect of the Emperor of Eternal Life on her. It was his obsession that brought us here to rescue you. From now on, you can return to the Tao universe and regain your freedom." "The Emperor of Eternal Life," Fairy Yaoxian murmured, clearly reminiscing about the name. She did not fall silent again but asked, "Can you take me away from here?" S.E. the novel, F. Iyer. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Gu En smiled. "We managed to come here, so naturally we can leave. But before we go, we can help you resolve some potential troubles." He turned around, looking into the depths of the universe and said, "Show yourself, product of the evil intent of the path of cause and effect." Upon hearing this, Shenzhen quickly turned around to look, but no matter where she looked, she could not see any sign of life. Fairy Yaoxian also looked up, her gaze directed towards one spot, her eyes growing colder. "Who are you to come to the exile realm?" A cold voice echoed, and with it, a pair of enormous eyes opened in the darkness, overlooking Gu En and the others. Shenzhen, feeling those eyes on her, felt extremely uncomfortable, as if she was experiencing the utmost malice. "Product of evil intent? Not a living being?" Shenzhen asked in a low voice. "Yes, the path of cause and effect is the result of all beings defying the Tao rules. These actions carry various evil intents, and when the path of cause and effect gathers these evil intents together, it gives birth to it. It is part of the path of cause and effect. The more evil intent it encounters, the stronger it becomes. It wants to reach the Tao universe to absorb the evil intents of all beings. But it is bound by the path of cause and effect and cannot find the Tao universe. It can only sense that far away there is the evil intent it desires, so Fairy Yaoxian became its hope. If we leave directly, it will attach itself to Fairy Yaoxian." Gu En introduced the origin of the mysterious giant eyes, his explanation making those eyes narrow in malice. Shenzhen shuddered at the thought. If such an existence were brought to the 3,000 great worlds, wouldn't it cause a disaster? She asked no more questions, warily watching the mysterious giant eyes ahead. "You can see through my origins. Since that's the case, what do you plan to do with me?" The cold voice sounded again, filled with apprehension and unwillingness. It did not want to give up on Fairy Yaoxian as its hope. Fairy Yaoxian was trapped here, and so was it. Staying here, it could not find the meaning of its existence, and the images brought by those evil intents made it yearn for the human world. "Fellow Taoist, if you continue to watch the show, I may have to ruin your plans." Gu An's words shocked both the mysterious giant eyes and Shenzhen. There were other people? The mysterious giant eyes shifted rapidly, seemingly trying to locate the person's position. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 739. Xuanqiong Saint Mother Shenzhen searched everywhere but could not find the presence of any other entities. Fairy Yaoxian frowned deeply. She hadn't expected that more than one presence was watching her secretly. Guan, on the contrary, remained calm, waiting for the other party to appear. A burst of intense light erupted from the depths of the void across from the mysterious giant eye, startling Shenzhen to turn around and see. Fairy Yaoxian also stood up and turned to look. The radiant light blossomed, illuminating half the cosmic void. Within that light, a figure slowly stepped out. From the figure's shape, it was a woman with an elegant posture and an extraordinary aura. She seemed like an ancient giant deity descending, towering over countless miles, larger than any mountain Shenzhen had ever seen, making her widen her eyes involuntarily. I didn't expect fellow Taoists to see through my concealment technique. A cold female voice echoed, accompanied by a majestic heavenly power. Heavenly Court Immortals. Guan cast a lifespan detection toward her. Xuanqiong Saint Mother, Late Stage Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal Realm 0/0/0 Xuanqiong Saint Mother. Guan noted the name, planning to inquire with Celestial Spirit God and Tai Immortal Monarch later. Xuanqiong Saint Mother's Celestial Dao destiny was extraordinarily dense. Guan could only perceive her cultivation level and true form. She was not a human who ascended to immortality through cultivation. Her true form was a tree. Guan spoke. May I ask whom fellow Taoist seeks? This woman is not my aim. My goal is to subdue this evil entity. Could fellow Taoist grant me some convenience? Xuanqiong Saint Mother replied, devoid of the arrogance typical of heavenly court immortals. In truth, she was quite astounded. When Guan had entered with Shenzhen, she was already surprised that this person could resist the counter-forces of the path of cause and effect. Now, face to face, she couldn't discern Guan's depths. She couldn't even see his features clearly. What did it imply? Guan's Dao practice compared to hers was not lower and perhaps higher. The most terrifying thing was that this person bore no sign of celestial Dao destiny, indicating he did not belong to the heavenly court. To cultivate to this degree without reliance on the heavenly court, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Despite the countless powerful entities within the heavenly court, the vast majority of immortal gods grew to their current status due to the celestial Dao destiny. The higher the realm, the harder it is to ascend further. Talent alone can't measure it. If it's solely for this evil entity, I naturally won't interfere, so we'll leave first. As Guan spoke, he raised his hand and beckoned to Fairy Yaoxian, signaling her to follow. Then, he turned and left. Shenzhen followed closely, and Fairy Yaoxian didn't hesitate, catching up to their pace. May I know fellow Taoist's name? I am the Supreme Immortal of the Heavenly Court, Xuanqiong Saint Mother. Since we have met, why not forge a good bond? My dojo is in the celestial extreme 9 heavens. You are welcome to visit any time. Xuanqiong Saint Mother's voice echoed from behind, but it didn't cause Guan to stop. My name is Meng Lang. I wander the heavens without a fixed abode. If I pass by the celestial extreme 9 heavens, I will certainly visit fellow Taoist. Guan responded casually, causing Shenzhen's mouth to twitch. Xuanqiong Saint Mother said no more, watching Guan and the 2 others depart. Soon, the trio vanished into the void, while Xuanqiong Saint Mother continued toward the mysterious giant eye, the heavenly Dao light she emitted gradually enveloping the darkness. Elsewhere, Guan led the trio into the chaotic currents of the great Dao, surrounded by dazzling lights that were mesmerizing. That person is truly a heavenly court immortal? How come that evil entity didn't flee? Before we left, it was still staring blankly. Shenzhen remarked. Guan stared ahead, saying, she is indeed an immortal god. The heavenly court's destiny can't be faked. As for that evil entity, it wasn't foolish, but it couldn't escape at all. It doesn't fear immortal gods as it coexists with a path of cause and effect. That threatening? Can the immortal gods completely annihilate it? Shenzhen pressed. You heard her, she wants to subdue it, which means she's here for personal gain. Subdue it? Allowing such an evil entity to grow is not right. Isn't she afraid of a catastrophe? Shenzhen suddenly felt worried, thinking of how that evil entity absorbed the malicious thoughts of all beings, becoming an extremely terrifying existence that could bring catastrophe to the 3,000 great worlds. She used to love writing books and was sensitive to such plot lines. Ea the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. I wouldn't know. Immortal gods have their own intentions. Guan replied casually, actually not caring about such an evil entity. Not to mention Xian Qi primordial immortal. Even a Dao extreme Daluo immortal could easily subdue it. After all, the evil entity was a creation of the path of cause and effect. No matter how strong, it couldn't surpass the path itself. However, to beings that haven't created their own Dao, such an evil entity is extremely terrifying, leading to a fate worse than death if encountered. Fairy Yaoxian followed behind silently. Her heart was filled with curiosity. Before being expelled by the path of cause and effect, she hadn't encountered many immortal gods, and the aura of Xuanqiong Saint Mother was stronger than any great power she had seen. Who was this person? Why did she come? Fairy Yaoxian faintly guessed, seeing Gu An's back gradually overlap with another figure in her mind. Though she had guesses, she did not question him. There must be another hidden story he wasn't revealing. Currently, she needed to focus more on restoring her own cultivation level. Soon, the chaotic currents of the Great Tao disappeared. They arrived at a long river of Great Tao. Light rose from beneath their feet, enveloping them in brightness. Guan stopped, turning slightly to face Fairy Yaoxian, saying, "This is the path of the Great Tao. From now on, you are free." Fairy Yaoxian gazed at him. Even with his redefined face, she felt a sense of familiarity. She asked, "You saved me, don't you need me to do anything for you?" Shen Zhan watched them in silence. "I was an old acquaintance of the Emperor of Eternal Life. He has died within the great cause and effect steel. I just fulfilled his last wish." Guan revealed the fate of the Emperor of Eternal Life. Fairy Yaoxian's eyes changed upon hearing this. Shen Zhan let out a deep breath. It seemed Guan and Fairy Yaoxian indeed had no direct connection. At this moment, Fairy Yaoxian looked at Shen Zhan, saying, "She carries the cause and effect of my child. So, my child has also been saved by you. Where is he?" "He is at my dojo, taken in as my disciple. If you wish to see him, I will let him meet you when he becomes stronger," Guan said truthfully. Fairy Yaoxian turned her gaze back to him, asking, "May I go to your dojo?" She paused and continued, "I don't know how many years I've been sealed, but now I feel that apart from my child, I have no more support or place to go. Joining your dojo, I will serve you in the future." Guan sighed inwardly. He could hear Fairy Yaoxian's hidden guesses. She determined he was the Emperor of Eternal Life. Fine. Just right to let her child see his mother. In the future, leading Fairy Yaoxian to attain the primordial Tao Emperor, perhaps she would understand the relationship between the Emperor of Eternal Life and him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 740. Immortal Gods' Evil Thoughts. Fairy Yaoxian's arrival did not cause much of a stir at the Taoist field of the beginningless. With the increasing number of fourth-generation disciples, some disciples were still strangers to each other. Fairy Yaoxian was quite intrigued by the Taoist field of the beginningless. The spiritual energy and Tao intent here were the best she had ever encountered, making it truly a holy land for cultivation. Guan asked Shen Zhan to take Fairy Yaoxian to find Zue, while he returned to his room to observe the Xuanqiong Saint Mother's methods against the evil creature. Sure enough, the Xuanqiong Saint Mother subdued the evil creature and named it Xian Yi. It is worth mentioning that the Xuanqiong Saint Mother did not introduce the celestial Tao destiny into Xian Yi's body, which made Guan speculate that she did not want this matter to be known by the celestial court. After subduing Xian Yi, the Xuanqiong Saint Mother flew towards the celestial extreme 9 heavens without encountering other immortal gods. Guan withdrew his gaze, closed his eyes, and began to ponder the path of cause and effect of the exile realm. How was such a place formed, and why did it give birth to an existence like Xian Yi? If the path of cause and effect can form Tao rules, so can other paths. Does that mean there are other existences similar to Xian Yi in other exile realms of different Tao? Given that the celestial Tao destiny is not omnipresent, the 3,000 great worlds are the central places for celestial Tao destiny. Beyond them, there are other realms for celestial Tao destiny, such as the primordial Emperor Domain, Misty Immortal Court, and Ling Mountain. However, there are many places outside the celestial Tao as well. Places like the Hongmeng Great World, Abyss Tao Sea, and Supreme Origin Forest that Guan had visited. At present, The cosmic planes outside the celestial Tao far surpass those within it. This means that the celestial Tao is far from encompassing the great Tao. Standing at the pinnacle of the celestial Tao, what do the celestial emperor and the celestial Tao venerables face, and do they have worries? While Guan was thinking divergently, Zue reunited with Fairy Yaoxian. Before Xinzhan could introduce Fairy Yaoxian, Zue rushed to her. A mother-child reunion is always a heartwarming scene. Zue hugged his mother, wanting to share countless words, while Fairy Yaoxian, seeing that he was doing well, had a face full of smiles. In the days that followed, the relationship between Zue and Fairy Yaoxian became known. Zue was Gu An's youngest disciple, and all disciples of the Taoist field of the beginningless knew that Guan doted on him. No one expected Guan to go as far as to bring his mother back as well. Many disciples had their suspicions but did not dare to voice them. Guan possessed great divine skills, so even if they spoke in the softest of whispers, he would likely hear them. Guan did not care much about the disciples' thoughts. Time would dilute all doubts. Although Fairy Yaoxian's realm had fallen to that of a Taoist Zongzizai immortal, she was still an emperor of the great Tao. After arriving, her cultivation level grew rapidly. It is worth mentioning that Fairy Yaoxian saw through Nzin's cultivation of the immortal emperor's eye and proactively proposed a spar. Although neither emerged victorious, it put pressure on an Xian. An Xian would spar with Fairy Yaoxian every 1,000 years. Until Fairy Yaoxian reached the profound Yuan-free immortal realm, an Xian was no longer her match. For an Xian to achieve the profound Yuan-free immortal realm, it required years of accumulated great Tao insights, while Fairy Yaoxian was merely regaining her former cultivation level. Fairy Yaoxian and an Xian developed a close relationship, which Guan considered a good thing. Following the Emperor of Eternal Life in battle for so many years, her understanding of the immortal emperor's eye would greatly benefit an Xian. Time flew by quickly. 1,000,000 years had passed since Fairy Yaoxian joined the Taoist field of the beginningless. In the morning, Guan stood by the lake. Practicing Tai Chi, his movements were slow but had the graceful beauty of floating clouds and flowing water. While practicing, he brought up his attribute panel. Name: Guan. Lifespan: 6, 250, 704/450, 337, 945, 422, 651. Physique: Primordial Infinite Creation Tao Body. Cultivation level: Perfection of Xian Qi Primordial Immortal Realm. 4.5 trillion years of lifespan. He was halfway to the trillion-year mark, but Guan felt that the next breakthrough would require more than just 1 trillion years of lifespan. Fortunately, he had no strong enemies currently. With the Eternal Life Venerable, Yang Jian, Li Xuanmiao and other immortal gods around, he had a buffer with the celestial court, preventing enmity. Fighting and killing did not suit him. He preferred this leisurely and peaceful life, doing whatever he wanted while continuously growing stronger. For him, lifespan was like an experience bar in a game. Watching it grow assured him that he was on the right path to becoming stronger. Practicing Tai Chi was something he took interest in during his leisure time, using some fist techniques from his past life. After several rounds, this set of Tai Chi had evolved into a secret skill of the immortal Tao in his hands. Every move and stance could shake the world. Saw the novel, F.I.R. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. A figure emerged from the woods behind him. It was Fairy Yaoxian, dressed in a white gown, exuding grace and an enigmatic demeanor despite her cold expression. Only Guan knew that Fairy Yaoxian had yet to reveal her true character. In the Emperor of Eternal Live's memories, she was immensely combative and quite arrogant. Throughout their adventures, it was often the Emperor of Eternal Life who acted as the voice of reason. Perhaps her memories had not fully returned, or perhaps it was the sediment of years, but since arriving at the Taoist field of the beginningless, Fairy Yaoxian had behaved with great composure and the stature of a grand master. In 1,000,000 years, she had established a high level of prestige. Except for Guan, no one knew her true nature. She stood quietly behind Guan, watching him. "Does the fairy have something to discuss?" Guan asked, without pausing his movements. Fairy Yaoxian spoke. "Between the Taoist emperor and the primordial Tao emperor, who do you think is stronger?" She was certain Guan was the Emperor of Eternal Life, as he had once been a Taoist emperor and now practiced as a primordial Tao emperor, which intrigued her. The Taoist field of the beginningless already had more than 10 primordial Tao emperors. Through them, Fairy Yaoxian learned the wonders of the primordial Tao Emperor, which fascinated her. But she was already a Taoist emperor and was unsure if she could directly cultivate the primordial Tao Emperor, or if she would need to abandon her Taoist emperor destiny first. Stronger or weaker depends on the individual cultivator, Guan replied. That was truly what he thought. Although the primordial Tao Emperor seemed poised to surpass the Taoist emperor, it was because its cultivation method was easier, at least without the need for constant combat, and failure didn't mean death. Even great powers would dislike constant battles within their own realm or higher. Fairy Yaoxian nodded slightly and continued. During my years in exile, I witnessed countless scenes and captured many malicious thoughts involving the great cause and effect. Are you interested in hearing them? If you want to say it, then say it, Guan replied casually. As the Taoist field of the beginningless could isolate any cause and effect, discussions were not restricted here. Fairy Yaoxian fell silent for a moment, then said, I saw the malicious thoughts of the heavenly court immortals. Some immortal gods wanted to perform a blood sacrifice of all living beings, some wanted to seize the celestial emperor's throne, and what? And the malicious thoughts of the celestial emperor. Guan paused his movements, stood straight, and turned to face her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 741. Zhang Buku's Obsession. That evil intention claims to be the celestial emperor. He is weary of everything he has created and hostile towards everything he possesses. He even wants to destroy the heavenly Tao itself. Such malice makes me feel terrified even now. If this evil intention truly comes from the celestial emperor, it will be an unimaginable catastrophe. Fairy Yaoxian spoke, her eyebrows furrowed, her eyes filled with worry. She had seen immortal gods and heard of myths about the celestial emperor. In the mythology of the 3,000 great worlds, the celestial emperor is a supreme existence. Some myths say the celestial emperor is the creator giant god of everything. In any myth, the celestial emperor is a top existence that cultivators can only look up to. Guan did not doubt Fairy Yaoxian's words. Instead, he found them plausible. The celestial emperor has been invincible for too many years, and the position of the celestial court is unshakable. Absolute power plus endless lifespan means he will get used to everything and everyone, and after getting used to them comes weariness, and further, it might lead to hostility. Thinking about it now, the celestial emperor overlooks the conflict of the sons of heaven, perhaps just for amusement. Guan could foresee the direction of the sons of heaven's conflict. How much more could the celestial emperor? Knowing there was calamity, the celestial emperor still did not show up. Perhaps in the eyes of the celestial emperor, the calamity for all living beings was just a bit of fun. Of course, Guan found it possible, but until he saw the celestial emperor in person, he would not make any judgment about him. Why worry about things that have not yet happened? Even if it's true, what can you and I do? Guan looked at Fairy Yaoxian, trying to comfort her. Sar the Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xian Qi Primordial Immortal can see a very distant future but cannot see the end of the heavenly Tao, nor judge the fate of the great Tao. Fairy Yaoxian stared at Guan, saying, You once pursued the path of cause and effect. Now your cultivation level is profound and unfathomable, yet you hide in this little world. Isn't it because you fear the celestial court? Listening to Shen Zhan, the Emperor of Eternal Life was once hunted by immortal gods and ultimately sacrificed himself into the great cause and effect steel. In Fairy Yaoxian's view, these events contributed to the present-day Guan. The Emperor of Eternal Life was so spirited, never knowing fear, acting bravely, even recklessly. Clearly, after entering the great cause and effect steel, the Emperor of Eternal Life did not die, but because of the immortal gods, he began to hide his identity, cultivating in a little world until now. After achieving great cultivation, he saved her immediately. Because of this, Fairy Yaoxian would not expose Guan's disguise. Since Guan feared the immortal gods, why create trouble? She only needed to inform him about the celestial court. Guan listened to Fairy Yaoxian's inner thoughts, feeling quite helpless. Really good at imagination. Guan solemnly said, I have no grievances with the celestial court. No matter what you imagine, it's wrong. I enjoy my current life. I am not a combative person. Fairy Yaoxian responded, I also focus on cultivation, enjoying the current life. If you want to learn about the celestial court, I have more information to share. Well, that's not impossible, Guan pondered. He couldn't deduce the evil intention Fairy Yaoxian felt within the path of cause and effect. It could only be explained by her or recalled. Fairy Yaoxian smiled upon hearing this. Above the sea of clouds, the celestial calming god walked ahead, followed by 9 heavenly soldiers, including Zhang Buku and Su Yu. Millions of years passed, and the demeanor of Zhang Buku and Su Yu had undergone drastic changes, now possessing the demeanor of heavenly soldiers. Zhang Buku was communicating with Su Yu, curious about whom they were to meet this time. Probably going to meet the Star Monarch or Immortal Monarch. Su Yu responded through transmission, hearing Zhang Buku's eyes filled with curiosity. He had just begun to understand the celestial court, captivated by its hierarchical ranks. Since he aimed to ascend, he must strive upwards. If he could meet the Star Monarch or Immortal Monarch, that would be ideal. Of course, he was merely thinking. He currently lacked the qualifications to converse with the Star Monarch, let alone to meet the Immortal Monarch. No matter whom we meet later, you must kneel. Understand? The celestial calming god's voice came from the front, stern. Understood. The 9 heavenly soldiers responded in unison. This was the tacit understanding that had developed over millions of years of living together, and the celestial calming god's words also made them nervous. After walking for 1 stick of incense time, the celestial calming god suddenly knelt down. The 9 heavenly soldiers quickly followed, kneeling in a row behind him. Zhang Buku scanned the front. The boundless sea of clouds was vast and magnificent. There was not even a single building, let alone any sign of other immortal gods. Where is the Star Monarch? Zhang Buku was filled with confusion. At this moment, an awe-inspiring celestial might descended, causing the heavenly soldiers' expressions to change. They all looked up, their eyes wide, mouths agape. A giant golden mountain descended from the sky, bringing an overwhelming presence, smashing onto the sea of clouds, creating waves of air current. In front of this golden mountain, the 9 heavenly soldiers felt their chi blood vibrate, their hearts oppressed. Before they could think further, another golden mountain descended from the sky, followed by more golden mountains after it. Boom! 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 The world roared, trembling continuously as the golden mountains stacked together, quickly forming a heavenly ascension stairs, leading upwards indefinitely. Even though the 9 heavenly soldiers had reached the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, they could not see the highest point. The heavenly ascension stairs is the only road to the heavenly realm. Even celestial gods are not privileged to step on it. Each stair holds immense celestial might, making it impossible to force through. Su Yu's voice transmitted to Zhang Buku's ears. Zhang Buku dumbly stared at the heavenly ascension stairs, his heart shocked, his mind blank. The other 7 heavenly soldiers felt similarly. They had never seen such a breathtaking scene before, with the celestial might making their souls tremble, inducing an urge to bow. When the roar faded, Zhang Buku came to his senses. He saw a radiant light appear at the top of the heavenly ascension stairs, resembling a sun hanging above it. A figure slowly emerged from within, walking down the stairs. He couldn't see the true form of the figure, but his heartbeat echoed like war drums. A sudden determination arose within him. He wanted to ascend the heavenly ascension stairs. He wanted to become a true immortal god. He wanted to stand in the heavenly realm, looking down upon all heavens and myriad realms. His desire to ascend to immortality became unprecedentedly strong. The celestial calming god looked up silently, waiting for the immortal god to come down. The mysterious immortal god did not walk fast. As he passed more stairs, his form became immense, like the creator giant god from outer heaven descending to the human world, bringing immense pressure to the 9 heavenly soldiers. I am Yin Immortal Monarch. Are you the celestial calming god? A cold voice descended from the sky. Hearing this, the celestial calming god quickly responded, I am the celestial calming god. What does the immortal monarch command? His body was taut, seemingly not expecting to meet an immortal monarch. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 742. Lord of the Human Race Xian Immortal Monarch. Zhang Buku's heart tightened. The newcomer was an immortal god a step higher than a star monarch, which made him very nervous. As the other party continued to descend, the oppressive feeling he felt rapidly grew stronger. Now, he could not even lift his head, let alone glimpse Xian Immortal Monarch's figure. How powerful was this? Zhang Buku could not imagine. Even though he was already considered knowledgeable and experienced, he was still shocked by Xian Immortal Monarch's overwhelming heavenly might. He could not help but wonder, compared to the mysterious great power that once suppressed their entire celestial army on the path of the Great Tao, which one was stronger? Xian Immortal Monarch looked down at the celestial gods and heavenly soldiers below, expressionless, quite different from when facing Tai Immortal Monarch. After a long while, Xian Immortal Monarch finally stopped his steps, still standing on the heavenly ascension stairs, far above the ground, like an unshakable giant mountain. Heavenly Calming God. Huang Feng Immortal Monarch should have explained everything to you. Xian Immortal Monarch's voice sounded, with a majestic tone. Heavenly Calming God looked up and replied. He has explained it. We will do our best to support the human venerable. Human venerable? Zhang Buku was secretly curious. The human venerable should be one of the sons of heaven. Xian Immortal Monarch waved his hand, and a golden light descended from the sky, falling in front of the heavenly calming god. As the golden light dissipated, a golden pill the size of a pigeon egg appeared. Keep this pill safe. When the contest of the celestial suns begins, you will charge at the forefront. This pill will be your reliance. Xian Immortal Monarch spoke again. The heavenly calming god seemed to know the origin of the pill and didn't ask further. After receiving the golden pill, he immediately saluted Xian Immortal Monarch. Xian Immortal Monarch said no more and turned to ascend, respectfully seeing off the immortal monarch. The heavenly calming god shouted loudly, followed by 9 heavenly soldiers. Their voices resounded through the sky. Xian Immortal Monarch's footsteps on the heavenly ascension stairs were very heavy, like rolling thunder, louder than when he came. Vaguely, Zhang Buku seemed to hear countless celestial gods shouting, shaking his mind. Only when Xian Immortal Monarch disappeared at the end of the heavenly ascension stairs, and the heavenly might dissipated, did Zhang Buku dare to look up. Under his gaze, the heavenly ascension stairs gradually became transparent, disappearing like a mirage. The heavenly calming god stood up, and the heavenly soldiers breathed a sigh of relief and stood up one after another. God Lord, is that human venerable the son of heaven we are to support? What is the immortal monarch's cultivation level? Such terrifying aura. I was tense all over just now and didn't dare move. Are we to charge forward? Is this good or bad? Of course it is good. We have the celestial court's destiny, immortal and indestructible. What's there to fear? This is our opportunity to earn merit. The heavenly soldiers asked in a flurry. They were smart, not asking about the golden pill. The heavenly calming god looked at them and said calmly, it is indeed an opportunity to earn merit. We are serving the human venerable. The human venerable once trained in the 3,000 great worlds and was once the lord of the human race in one of the great worlds. He has a heart of compassion for all living beings. Only with him becoming the celestial emperor can the heavenly Tao continue on the right path. So, the upcoming Celestial Suns contest is not just for our benefit but for the future of the heavenly Tao. Do you understand? Upon hearing this, the heavenly soldiers all nodded seriously, except for Su Yu, who slightly pouted. The heavenly calming god then walked back to their original path, followed closely by the 9 heavenly soldiers. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guan was watching them. He was very concerned about this junior, Zhang Buku. Of course, this was also because Zhang Buku constantly thought about him. If Zhang Buku had long forgotten him, he wouldn't be paying so much attention. Zhang Buku's experience was just a microcosm. In the 3,000 great worlds, the movement of celestial gods was frequent, with star monarchs and immortal monarchs descending to the lower realm continuously, rapidly boosting the celestial Tao destiny of the 3,000 great worlds. The celestial Tao destiny not only enhanced nature's spiritual energy, but also helped cultivators of immortality to cultivate better. The beings of the 3,000 great worlds were unaware of the celestial gods' struggle, thinking that their respective worlds were welcoming an unprecedented golden age. S. E. of the novel, F. Iyer. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The celestial spirit Great World was also within the 3,000 Great Worlds. Its celestial Tao destiny was also on the rise, and the human world continuously produced talented individuals, which did not affect the 9-spirit continent. Guan withdrew his gaze and then looked at the mountains, wherein Zizai and Zue were suspended in the air. The two seemed motionless but had already entered the domain created by Guan, engaging in combat. And Zizai had diligently cultivated the myriad supreme palm and had achieved some accomplishments. Guan had not passed this palm technique to anyone else. Different disciples would cultivate different Taoist techniques, and it wasn't necessary to pass everything to one person. Compared to Zizai, Zue's mastery of divine skills was more extensive. To be precise, Zue had no weaknesses in any area, which was why no single divine skill stood out prominently. Even so, Zue was forcefully pressing Zizai in combat. Guan was pondering whether to guide Zue in cultivating the immortal Emperor's eye, as it would be inheriting the legacy of the Emperor of Eternal Life. The immortal Emperor's eye could be directly transplanted, but Guan did not want to do that. He could only guide Zue to cultivate it and see if Zue had the destiny for it. An hour later, Zue and Zizai opened their eyes at the same time, both panting heavily. And Zizai's face was quite unsightly. He didn't expect that his proud myriad supreme palm could do nothing against Zue. Zue was also shocked, not expecting a third-generation disciple to be so powerful. And Zizai, you are really formidable. Someday you might surpass some second-generation disciples. Zue sincerely sighed. Since he had gone out with the blood prison great saint to train for 1,000 years, he was no longer so arrogant and had learned some worldly manners. He had to encourage his junior. And Zizai forced a smile and said, "I'm not that great." The two exchanged pleasantries and then flew towards Guan. "Zai, you can go back now. I need to teach Zizai alone," Guan said. Hearing this, Zue was stunned for a moment and then left with a salute. And Zizai looked at Guan with a face full of guilt. Although Zue was his senior uncle, Zue had joined the dojo later than him. He had even watched Zue cultivate up close. Now being defeated by Zue, he felt he had disappointed his ancestors' expectations. Don't think too much about it. Whether one of you is stronger than the other, you are both family. Through sparring, finding your shortcomings, and improving together, that is the most important thing. Fellow disciples should always be family and not enemies. Understand? Guan said earnestly. Hearing this, and Zizai took a deep breath and nodded solemnly. Next, I will teach you the second palm of the myriad supreme palm, the myriad dragons ascending to heaven. This palm contains powerful sealing power, which can just make up for your current shortcomings. Guan's words filled Zizai's eyes with anticipation. He immediately knelt and said in a solemn voice, "Disciple will strive to cultivate the myriad supreme palm. One day, I will make this palm renowned in the world, becoming the strongest secret skill in the universe." Guan nodded in satisfaction and said, "I appreciate your determination. In fact, I have great expectations for you. You might even be the disciple I look forward to the most in the beginningless lineage." These words made Zizai's entire being ignite with passion, and his face turned visibly red with excitement. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 743, Mo Luo Clan, Chaos of Immortals and Demons in the Dark Depths of the Universe. Bolts of lightning appeared out of thin air, entwining and spreading. Faintly, a colossal entity was advancing, accompanied by lightning. The massive scales that resembled mountains reflected a cold, icy light. On the other end of the universe, countless meteorites gathered into a meteorite belt. Zhu Shi and a dozen cultivators stood on one of the meteorites, looking into the depths of the void, all frowning. What is that? The aura is so terrifying. It must have at least reached the level of a heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. It seems to be tearing apart the universe? Could it be that the battle for the Son of Heaven is about to start? The cultivators around Zhu Shi whispered to each other, all very tense. Since the unification of the Taiwei Great World, the Holy Court's main focus had been preparing for the battle, anticipating the inevitable struggle for the Son of Heaven. Today, they suddenly sensed an uninvited guest arriving in the Taiwei Great World, so they came to observe the situation. The Taiwei Great World also had immortal gods guarding it. As long as those immortal gods were not disturbed, it meant that the Taiwei Great World had not faced an apocalyptic disaster. What they needed to do was to prepare countermeasures in advance. Zhu Shi stared intently at the giant entity at the end of the void, wondering why its aura seemed somewhat familiar to her. There was one person, however, who saw through the origin and identity of this colossal entity. Guan. 70,000 years had passed since Guan taught in Zizai the second palm of the myriad supreme palm. Today, he was wandering through a city in the Taizong dynasty when he suddenly sensed that mysterious creatures were continuously invading the 3,000 great worlds, so he looked up. This demon and the demon god body have similar blood and flesh aura. Mo Luo Clan. Mo Luo Qilin. Sar the Novel Fire. T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan looked at the mysterious demonic creature infiltrating the Taiwei Great World and quickly calculated its cause and effect. The Mo Luo clan comes from the edge of the Great Tao and is somewhat causally linked to chaos evil demons. There are countless forms within the Mo Luo clan. The demon god bodies crafted by the immortal gods are derived from the flesh and blood of the Mo Luo clan. And now, the mysterious creatures invading the 3,000 great worlds also come from the Mo Luo clan, known as Mo Luo Qilin. These Mo Luo Qilin are all bound by invisible heavenly Tao lock chains. Their purpose is to station themselves within the Great Thousand Worlds. From a macro perspective, Guan saw that not all Great Thousand Worlds had Mo Luo Qilin, only half of them did. It appeared that this was a tactic of a certain Son of Heaven, deploying forces in advance. Guan deduced that the Son of Heaven manipulating the Mo Luo Qilin was the Great Immortal Divine Yuan. The Great Immortal Divine Yuan relied on the combined forces of the Mo Luo clan and the native cultivators of the Great World, while Shen Yuan Human Venerable depended more on the heavenly soldiers and generals. In the future, when the two sides clashed, it would bring chaos between immortals and demons to the 3,000 Great Worlds. Guan quickly halted his deductions, wanting to leave some suspense for the future. Although the celestial spirit Great World was not under the call of the Sons of Heaven, it was also part of the 3,000 Great Worlds and could not avoid catastrophe. At that time, the various sects would have to resist invaders from other great worlds and even face the havoc caused by demonic creatures and heavenly soldiers. At that time, Guan would also send out his Wushiji disciples for training. Mere secluded cultivation was not enough. Even for Guan, having undergone numerous lifespan reincarnations, he had accumulated battle experience unimaginable to ordinary people. Then, Guan withdrew his gaze and continued to walk down the streets of the human world. This city in the human world had cultivators, with the highest realm reaching the nascent soul realm, but it was still mostly inhabited by mortals. The streets were lined with various vendors, and it was the flower season, with numerous petals floating in the air, mingling with a special fragrance that was refreshing and delightful. As he walked, Guan noticed a group of children chasing and beating a small black dog. The dog's fur was dirty and matted, and it was limping, but the children found it amusing. Passers-by, though some glanced over, did not intervene. No one cared about the safety of a stray dog, thinking that children under 10 couldn't possibly harm it fatally. Guan initially did not pay attention, but the small black dog ran towards him, surprising him somewhat. Although he hadn't concealed his aura or presence, the small black dog choosing him was a kind of fate. The small black dog ran up to him, circling behind his legs, and the children coming after it stopped in their tracks, looking at him timidly. Guan's clean and elegant attire made him look unlike a common person, so the children naturally didn't dare offend him. The older children exchanged glances, then turned and ran, with the other children quickly following suit. Whimpering. The small black dog leaned against Guan's boot, whimpering pitifully. Guan glanced at it and then continued walking. The small black dog stayed in place for a moment, then limped to follow Guan. Guan didn't pay it any mind and continued his stroll. By dusk he left the city, and the small black dog still followed, though it looked extremely exhausted, stumbling as it walked. After leaving the city, Guan entered the woods, and the distance between him and the small black dog gradually increased. Unknown time passed, and the small black dog finally couldn't hold on, collapsing on the ground, its eyelids growing heavy. It struggled to open and close its eyes. Seeing Guan squatting before it, an unusual light flickered in its eyes. "Since you have such perseverance, I will help you shed your mortal form. But I hope you do not become what you now fear and despise. Guan's voice reached the small black dog's ears. Though it was ignorant, these words etched deeply into its heart. Drowsiness surged like a tide, quickly dragging its consciousness into darkness. Night fell. Guan returned to his courtyard. Shen Zhan, unusually, was not meditating before the artifact refining cauldron but lay on the rocking chair where Guan usually lounged, reading a book. Seeing Guan return, she glanced at him and asked, "You seem to be in a good mood?" I did a good deed today, saved a little dog." Guan said with a smile, but these words made Shen Zhan feel awkward. With his immense cultivation level, capable of saving all living beings in an instant, now simply saving a dog could make him so happy? Shen Zhan always felt she understood Guan well, but sometimes she felt she didn't understand him at all. Perhaps her Tao practice was still insufficient, or maybe something more profound happened during the process of saving the dog. Guan ignored her and went straight into the room. The moon set and the sun rose, day after day. The Taoist field of the beginningless remained untroubled by worldly affairs. A year outside was like a day inside. Another 1,000,000 years passed. On this day, after picking medicinal herbs, Guan returned to the Taoist field of the beginningless. Midway up the mountain, he saw fourth-generation disciples gathered together, discussing the affairs of the world. They talked about a great demon that had unified half of the human world, a demon calling itself the Demon Emperor with a grand following, unsettling the 9 sects of the human world. It was said that the 9 sects were debating whether to eliminate this demon. This demon had not committed any evil deeds, but the gathered power of the demon race under it posed a significant threat. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 744. The destiny of the Son of Heaven. The Demon Emperor, who is renowned throughout the world, is precisely the little black dog that Guan saved 1,000,000 years ago. He conducts himself with integrity, never bullying the weak, nor harming the human race, so his reputation is excellent. Not only does the demon race respect him, but many human race cultivators also admire him. Thus, the 9 major sects don't dare to act rashly. They must have a legitimate reason. All 9 sects of the world adhere to the righteous Tao. Acting in the name of the righteous Tao requires a justification, especially for matters like waging war and taking lives, which must have an unavoidable reason. The novel_fire. Website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan listened to the disciples' discussions and already foresaw the fate of the Demon Emperor. In a few years, the 9 major sects would suppress him, sealing him beneath a certain great mountain and dispersing his demon race forces. However, this would also sow the seeds of a future great war between the demon race and the human race in the celestial spirit great world. In the long years that followed, the demon race would continuously produce outstanding talents, one after another, attempting to rescue the Demon Emperor. This would leave behind many well-known legends, widely circulated even among the human race. Although the Demon Emperor's future would be bitter, this had nothing to do with Guan. A mere acquaintance was not enough for Guan to consider him as one of his own. If he were to intervene again, it would be unfair to all living beings in the world. Guan allowed himself to have selfish intentions, but these intentions could not be misused. In fact, whenever he encountered people or events he couldn't tolerate during his travels, he would intervene. He wasn't the kind of great power who stayed aloof from matters that didn't concern him. As long as it didn't affect the destiny of a place, he would help those in suffering, whether humans or demons. Guan continued forward without disturbing the disciples. He walked up the mountain and returned to his courtyard. An Exian was rarely there, discussing the path of cause and effect with Shen Zhan. Seeing Guan return, an Exian immediately approached and said, "Master, if the 4th-generation disciples want to go out and train, should we allow it?" The earliest 4th-generation disciples had been cultivating in the Taoist field of the beginningless for millions of years and had already reached the Zizai immortal realm. But without Guan's order, the disciples didn't dare to go out, nor even dare to step into the world gate. Although they could travel around the 9-spirit continent, which also enjoyed the blessings of the dojo, in reality, there was a significant difference between the two. Wuxia was a holy land suspended above the 9-spirit continent, and many families wanted to send their offspring here, which required outstanding talent and destiny. When Guan allowed the fourth-generation disciples to take on their own disciples, it would undoubtedly stir up waves across the continent. They can go out, but must not enter the world gate. They must return within 10,000 years. If they start a family or fail to return on time, they won't be able to come back. Moreover, if they commit many evil deeds, Wuxia will cleanse the sect, whether they return or not. Guan casually replied. Every choice had its gains and losses. Wuxiji disciples had already enjoyed privileges beyond the reach of the masses and couldn't have it all. He did this to give Wuxia disciples an opportunity to return to secular life. Going out to train for 10,000 years and seeing enough of the red dust, they could come back with a firmer will to pursue the Tao. An ex-Xian nodded slightly upon hearing this. Master, actually, I'm thinking about whether to guide the disciples to open up their own worlds. This way, they won't need to go out and can experience the red dust in their own worlds. An ex-Xian asked hesitantly. Zizai immortals were not yet capable of creating real worlds, but at least it served as a goal. Guan answered. No need to guide them. They don't need hope. Pursuing immortal cultivation and seeking the Tao is a process of self-exploration. Their choices are theirs to bear. You must not become entangled in cause and effect. An ex-Xian found this reasonable and gave up the idea. She had no other questions, saluted Guan, and continued her discussion with Shen Zhen. Guan did not disturb them, nor was he interested in listening. He returned to his room to read. During his recent trip to the human world, he had acquired several intriguing books, which he planned to savor overnight. In the brilliant starry sky, floating islands adorned with 7-colored clouds were surrounded by manifesting destiny, turning into dragons that soared continuously. This was the misty immortal court. Tianhao stood on a roof ridge wearing a white robe with gold embroidery, overlooking the grand vista of the misty immortal court. His brows were slightly furrowed, his eyes complex. Millions of years had passed, and Tianhao's momentum was even more imposing. Strands of chi force coiled around him, displaying the demeanor of the Son of Heaven perfectly. Who am I exactly? Tianhao muttered to himself. He had already recalled memories of his past life as an Hao, and his entire life floated within his mind, making him all the more grateful to Guan. Now, though far from the celestial spirit great world and carrying a mission, he couldn't easily return to repay his debt. Hence he thought more about himself. He realized that Hao was just one identity from his many past lives, with larger hidden connections of cause and effect, and a terrifying power deeply embedded within him. He looked up, his gaze seemingly piercing through the top of the universe. A figure appeared beside him, a white-haired elder in a yellow robe, tall and straight, standing beside him with equal momentum. Master, I seem to have found my destiny. Tianhao spoke softly, his gaze fixed upwards. The elder stroked his beard and smiled. Your destiny is for you to find, but many things can't just be thought about. You need to see them for yourself. Tianhao glanced at him and asked, Can I go to the celestial court now? If you truly face punishment, I doubt even your sheer luck will let you escape Kangshin's scrutiny. What do you think? The elder replied with a cheerful smile. Upon hearing this, a subtle change occurred in Tianhao's eyes. He fell into an inner struggle. Now that the contest for the Son of Heaven is about to begin, though the misty immortal court is not within the 3,000 great worlds, it would still be implicated. You should leave. When the Sons of Heaven meet, destiny patterns will appear, forcibly returning you to your origin and wiping out your current will. The elder continued, his tone relaxed, as if discussing a trivial matter. Tianhao was silent for a moment, then took a deep breath, turning to the elder. Master, if I regain my identity as the Son of Heaven and forget past kindness, won't it be unfair to you? The elder shook his head with a laugh. You're not my only disciple. Furthermore, being able to have the Son of Heaven as my disciple is a great honor for me beyond 3 lifetimes. For some reason, Tianhao felt a bit disappointed in his heart upon hearing these words. He thought of Guan. That master would never say such things, at least not diminishing the stature of being a master. But he could also understand his current master's perspective. The entire misty immortal court prided itself on attaining immortal positions in the celestial court, and he was the Son of Heaven. Naturally, they would flatter him. Perhaps it was truly time to leave. Since the spread of Tianhao's identity as the Son of Heaven, he could clearly feel the overly enthusiastic attitudes around him, so passionate it felt unreal, making him want to escape. In that case, I shall go to the celestial court to face my true destiny, Tian Hao said with a firm voice, looking at the elder. He wanted to understand which son of heaven he truly was and what kind of past he had. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 745. Lifespan of 10 quadrillion years. Profound abyss. Ancient tree. The struggle of the Son of Heaven draws closer to the 3,000 great worlds, and for all living beings, the most apparent sign is the increase in mythical stories. Immortal gods are no longer just ethereal legends. In each great thousand world beyond the heavens, grand opportunities continuously appear, bringing boundless hope to the cultivators of the 3,000 great worlds. The immortal god's concept of time differs from that of mortal spirits. Even in the preparation stage, millions of years do not seem long. Time flies by. Millions of years turn a page in the giant book of time. More and more immortal gods begin to descend into the 3,000 great worlds. The world of the celestial spirit great world starts to become turbulent, not because of the struggle for the Son of Heaven, but due to the 9 major sects suppressing the demon emperor, causing upheaval in the demon race. On this day, deep in the sea, within the hidden spirit palace, Guan was picking medicinal herbs when his actions suddenly paused. Your lifespan has broken through the 10 trillion year mark for the first time. A random upgrade to lifespan functions will now commence. Your lifespan reincarnation function has been upgraded. Lifespan reincarnation upgraded successfully. Lifespan reincarnation. Perform reincarnation evolution, which will reflect in reality. Each session consumes 1 billion years of lifespan. All memories obtained during reincarnation will transmit into your mind as if experienced firsthand. There is no time limit to reincarnation evolution. It depends entirely on the choices made during causality. You can choose to reincarnate into the past, present, or future, or select a prior reincarnation body to reincarnate again. All reincarnations will retain lifespan evolution abilities, and merging memories with reality will take just an hour. Looking at the series of prompts before him, Guan squinted slightly. The consumption for lifespan reincarnation rising from 10 million to 1 billion years seems substantial, yet the actual content feels worth it. Choosing independently among the past, present, and future can circumvent many troubles, and selecting a prior reincarnation body for a new reincarnation can yield even more gains. For someone like Yang Xian, whose talent and comprehension are exceedingly high, if he reached the Xian Qi primordial immortal realm, the fortune he would bring to Guan is far beyond what a billion-year lifespan evolution could offer. Of course, opening a new reincarnation would also generate more anticipation. Given his current lifespan, consuming 1 billion years of lifespan is no concern for Guan. Guan continued to pick medicinal herbs, preparing to initiate a lifespan reincarnation session after his current task, opting for a new reincarnation body rather than a previous one. To him, each new reincarnated life was akin to an epic and vast novel. Having not started a new one for a while, he was indeed feeling nostalgic. As for the causality brought by lifespan reincarnation, he now took it lightly, accepting or ignoring it at will, confident in facing any resultant effects. Continuous cultivation, striving for the summit of the great Tao, was not meant for servitude to all living beings. He had no desire to care for every world. Protecting his surroundings sufficiently was enough to live happily and freely. Thinking this way, perhaps immortal gods are too free, hence neglectful of all living beings? Guan suddenly considered this but then thought it over and found it not entirely true. The immortal gods need the worship of all living beings. The celestial Tao destiny requires the faith of all beings, but he did not need it. Even when creating the primordial Tao Emperor Fortune, he did not require the faith and offerings of cultivators. His creations were more driven by personal interest. After a while, seeing that Guan had finished picking the herbs, the deep-sea dragon carp, who had been waiting by his side, approached. Having followed Guan for over 9 million years, the young and naive fish was now a venerable figure with the poise of an enlightened grandmaster. Occasionally, it would venture out to explore the world, gathering knowledge for future opportunities, something Guan permitted, not wanting to confine it here forever. The deep-sea dragon carp would go out but never stay away for long, leaving avatars to manage the hidden spirit palace's various medicine gardens without mishap. Master, have you heard about the demon emperor? The deep-sea dragon carp asked cautiously. Guan asked offhandedly. I've heard. What of it? He began selecting herbs to bring back. Although he did not need medicinal herbs, the Wushiji disciple did, and his Dao fruit universe already had a massive stock of elixirs. Since cultivating herbs in the Dao fruit universe would drain his mana, not lifespan, he had no desire to cultivate it. For now, he used it only for storage. Don't you think the 9 major sects are too despicable? It's not because impartial to our demon race, but the demon emperor is a leader admired even by humans. He advocates for peaceful coexistence among all races, sharing the Tao and even teaching human cultivators, saving those in distress. Such a demon was oppressed by the righteous Taoist sects for a feeble reason. The reason was apparently that the demon emperor's disciple's disciple killed one of their true disciples, and when negotiations failed, they had no choice but to wage war against the demon emperor. How absurd! The deep-sea dragon carp's tone grew indignant as it spoke. Guan smiled and said, "Indeed absurd, but what good is telling me? Do you expect me to uphold justice for the demon emperor?" The deep-sea dragon carp quickly shook its head, saying, "How could I dare think such a thing? It's just that the demon emperor seems promising. Maybe you could save him and bring him to the hidden spirit palace?" Sar the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Even the sea demons admired the demon emperor's deeds. He not only saved people but demons. Before becoming the demon emperor, he roamed the world, eradicating evil and helping the weak. These stories were well known among the demon race, and the deep-sea dragon carp, having heard many, also grew fond of him. "I've never met him, so how could I accept him? You haven't genuinely ventured into the world. How can you understand a person from hearsay? Go out and train. You can even look for the demon emperor, but don't think of saving him." Guan chuckled softly. He too was quite pleased with the demon emperor. 2 million years ago, Guan had saved the demon before he became the demon emperor, speaking a few words that the demon held dear for a lifetime, practicing them faithfully till today, which was rare. Of course, pleased or not, it was not enough for Guan to intervene. From his perspective, the demon emperor would break free eventually, reaching greater realms and firmly establishing himself in the celestial spirit great world. The current tribulation was but a chapter in the demon emperor's life, one that he would overcome. The deep-sea dragon carp hesitated, truly wanting to seek out the demon emperor. "All right, I'm leaving. Think it over. If you want to go, leave an avatar and do not need to inform me." With these words, Guan vanished, leaving the deep-sea dragon carp in contemplation. Elsewhere, Guan arrived at a small island near the immortal Seeking Island. Sitting on a reef, he faced the sea breeze and began his lifespan reincarnation. You have consumed 1 billion years of lifespan to start a reincarnation evolution. Please choose to reincarnate to either the past, present, or future. The past. Going to the past might reveal insights about the ancient celestial court, gathering useful information for the present. Reincarnating to the future offered unreliable intelligence, serving only cultivation and Tao enlightenment purposes. Would you like to select a previous reincarnation body for rebirth? No. Connecting to the Tao rules. Searching for reincarnation heavens and earth. You have the following options. Choose 1. Ling Mountain. 2. Endless Jade Pool. 3. Profound Abyss Divine Pool. These places all appeared imposing. Ling Mountain's grandeur was evident even to Guan, harboring Daluo immortals. However, Guan did not wish to become a monk. His gaze fell on the Profound Abyss Divine Pool, which lay in the underworld, the land of reincarnation. He had never visited the underworld, but he saw its immense expanse, larger than all 3,000 great worlds combined. The underworld was not fully covered by celestial Tao destiny, proving the strength of the Profound Abyss Divine Pool. You have chosen to reincarnate into the Profound Abyss Divine Pool. This reincarnation will fully retain lifespan seizing and evolution abilities. Reincarnation evolution begins. Year 1, you are born in the other shore heaven as a Profound Abyss fruit on the Profound Abyss ancient tree. At 17, a ghost immortal comes to the Profound Abyss ancient tree for enlightenment, and you observe his actions with curiosity. At 102, you watch this ghost immortal cultivate divine skills, silently noting all his techniques. At 227, the ghost immortal departs, and you gradually comprehend the chi absorption technique. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 746. Gu Xian, Profound Abyss. Tai How Profound Abyss Fruit? How did I get reincarnated as a fruit? Guan looked at the prompt before him, feeling that he would spend the next several thousand years stuck on a tree, without any choice in the matter. This is quite novel. Guan continued to read on, with prompts continuously appearing. As the Profound Abyss Fruit, he encountered various passers-by in the ensuing years. There were ghost immortals, demons, as well as humans. Some just passed by, while others, like that ghost immortal, lingered. But the wait lasted longer than he anticipated. Over 10,000 years passed, and he was still a Profound Abyss Fruit. At the age of 12,732, you comprehended nature's essence and grasped the path of yin and yang, enhancing your Tao practice. At the age of 12,803, a torrential rain fell under the celestial vault. Never having felt rain before, you reveled in the downpour, refining your physical body. At the age of 13,146, swaying in the wind, you detached from the vine and fell to the ground. With nature's spiritual energy converging around you, you began transformation. Please choose your gender. The prompt paused here, and Guan furrowed his brow. Do I need to choose? Male. Guan made his decision. Over the past tens of thousands of years, as a transformed fruit, he had observed the difference between the sexes, likely contemplating this for years. After choosing, his reincarnation body gestated for a full 100 years before the transformation succeeded, and he comprehended his innate divine ability, the Profound Abyss Yin-Yang Shield. He also took a branch from the Profound Abyss ancient tree, transforming it into a long staff, and set off to explore Other Shore Heaven. Saw the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At the age of 13,307, you encountered a lonely wild ghost who claimed to be chased by the Nine Yin Divine Mansion and advised you to change your route to avoid them. Do you choose to evade the Nine Yin Divine Mansion? Yes. In a previous life as the Black Profound Emperor, Guan had experienced the power of the Nine Yin Divine Mansion. Most of their ghost immortals surpassed the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. With Guan's current Tao practice, he couldn't grasp the entirety of the underworld but could sense the presence of Daluo immortals within the Nine Yin Divine Mansion. The barriers of the path of yin and yang were truly formidable, preventing the celestial Tao destiny from fully encompassing the underworld. A newly transformed Profound Abyss Fruit would be no match for the Nine Yin Divine Mansion. You chose to trust the wild ghost's advice. After a long conversation, you decided to visit Other Shore City as mentioned. The wild ghost wanted to accompany you. Do you agree? No. You rejected its request, but it persisted, and you couldn't drive it away. You learned its name. It called itself Ghost Sanlang. After some conflict, you decided to name yourself Gu Xianyu since you were born from the Profound Abyss ancient tree. At the age of 13,315, you entered Other Shore City with Ghost Sanlang. In the same year, you met a cultivator named Zhu Tian Taoist, who claimed to be from Other Shore Heaven. He saw through your essence as a Profound Abyss Fruit and wanted to bring you to Other Shore Heaven for cultivation. Do you agree? Yes. Guan thought that someone who could discern his essence would not be someone he could resist. If they bore ill intentions, refusing would only cause trouble. Besides, Gu Xianyu needed Taoist technique to truly start immortal cultivation. Having lived for over 10,000 years, Gu Xianyu had not yet seized any lifespan. Other Shore Heaven appeared peaceful, indicating a strong foundation. However, in Guan's time, there was no power named Other Shore Heaven. Even observing the underworld now, he couldn't see Other Shore Heaven. This suggests Other Shore Heaven might perish. That would be good. After Gu Xianyu's cultivation succeeds and he departs, if Other Shore Heaven then perishes, many causes and effects could be hidden. Of course, the demise of Other Shore Heaven might relate to Gu Xianyu. Time would tell. You accepted Zhu Tian Taoist's invitation and followed him to Other Shore Heaven with Ghost Sanlang. Along the way, you gained much knowledge and looked forward to your new life. Upon entering the Chi Fortune Dojo in Other Shore Heaven, Zhu Tian Taoist took you to meet the Other Shore Emperor. Apparently, upon your birth, The other shore emperor foresaw your connection and decided to personally take you as a disciple. At the age of 13,316, the other shore emperor taught you the other shore heavenly god skill, saying it was the Taoist technique most suited for you. The subsequent prompts were all about cultivation. Not only Gu Xianyu but also Ghost Sanlang was cultivating. The other shore emperor also taught it a divine skill, making it swear eternal servitude to Gu Xianyu. Guan felt a sense of gratitude. His reincarnation body always found good mentors. For now, the other shore emperor seemed sincere. If he wanted the profound abyss fruit, there was no need for such elaborate effort. This cultivation lasted for 100,000 years. After 100,000 years, Gu Xianyu had reached the profound Yuan-free immortal realm. That year, the other shore emperor sent Gu Xianyu to train at the Nine Divine Mansion, accompanied by other disciples from Other Shore Heaven. Other Shore Heaven and Nine Divine Mansion were neighboring underworld Dao courts with a cordial relationship, often exchanging disciples to foster communication. When they arrived at the Nine Divine Mansion, no mishaps occurred, leaving Guan without choices to make. After entering the Nine Divine Mansion, Gu Xianyu stayed for several years before heading to the Netherworld alone for training. Shortly after arriving at the Netherworld, he befriended a fellow Taoist named Tai Hao. The two bonded instantly, and Tai Hao invited Gu Xianyu to explore the Netherworld for treasures, claiming there was an ancient treasure left by a great power. Guan finally faced a choice. What treasure? The Netherworld was far from safe. From his current vantage, Guan could see terrible power of reincarnation in its depths, which could affect even the Miao Zhen Daluo immortal if they lingered. He declined Tai Hao's invitation. You rejected Tai Hao's invitation. Tai Hao wasn't angry, telling you to wait by the river before diving into the Netherworld. This filled you with admiration for him. Tai Hao's bold spirit captivated you, making you yearn to be like him. You began meditating by the Netherworld, commencing cultivation. At the age of 116,542, you were suddenly attacked while cultivating. The assailants were two cultivators from the Nine Divine Mansion who coveted your ghost slave, Ghost Sanlang. Forced to retaliate, after a strenuous battle, you narrowly killed the two Nine Divine Mansion disciples. You discovered you could seize lifespan, and after some research, used it to elevate the other shore heavenly god skill, achieving a breakthrough in mastery, subtly changing your mindset. At the age of 116,552, 3 more disciples from the Nine Divine Mansion arrived, questioning whether you killed their 2 junior disciples. You chose to strike first, eliminating them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 747. 9 Heaven's True Dragon Chi make a move directly? S.E.A. The Novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan raised an eyebrow slightly. From just a few words, he could sense the changes in Gu Xian. Gu Xian was not like this before. He wouldn't even fight, let alone kill. After killing 3 Nine Divine Mansion disciples again, Gu Xian chose to leave and cultivate in another place. His skill broke through in the same year, obviously using his lifespan evolution ability. It seems Gu Xian is becoming obsessed with the ability to evolve his lifespan. In the subsequent years, beings from the Nine Divine Mansion came to investigate the deaths of those 2 disciples constantly. As long as Gu Xian heard their questions, he would kill them directly. There were even times when people knelt and begged for his mercy. Although Guan did not agree with his change, it had come to this, and killing was the only option left. Gu Xian had thoroughly opposed the Nine Divine Mansion. By the time Guan had a choice, he had already killed more than 10 disciples of the Nine Divine Mansion. Even if he chose to show mercy then, the Nine Divine Mansion would not have spared him. It looked like Gu Xian was set to become the next Long Zhan, but countless times stronger. Guan carefully monitored the prompts. If Gu Xian's killing spree continued, he would have to find a way to end his life. But unfortunately, all he could do was choose yes or no. He couldn't decide Gu Xian's life and death directly. Fortunately, Gu Xian was not as evil as he had imagined. At the age of 116,722, you encountered a group of people being pursued by evil spirits. You chose to save them, and later learn from them about another half of the world. You were filled with curiosity about the mortal world, so you left the underworld with them. At the age of 116,726, you arrived at the Taoyuan great world of the mortal world, and at the invitation of those people, you visited the Erosion Moon sect. At the age of 116,727, the female cultivator Yen Yueshi you saved in the underworld confessed to you, hoping to marry you. Do you accept? No. Already extreme, and still in love? If something happened to this female cultivator named Yen Yueshi, wouldn't Gu Xianxian go mad? For the sake of all living beings, Guan refused this marriage on behalf of Gu Xianxian. You refused Yen Yuex's confession. Yen Yueshi begged bitterly, but you were unmoved. Finally, Yen Yueshi, in a rage, cursed you venomously, saying you humiliated her and she would repay you tenfold. Crazy. Rejecting you is humiliating you? Why don't you remember the favor of saving your life? Guan laughed, thinking that this woman named Yen Yueshi was no good. Fortunately, he refused. If she had married Gu Xianxian, who knows how much trouble would follow. Reincarnation continued, and prompts kept popping up. Gu Xianxian left the Erosion Moon sect and traveled through the Taoyuan Great World with Gu Sanlang. If anyone troubled him, he killed them directly. But if he encountered someone in distress, whether human, demon, or ghost soul, he would help. Good and evil coexisted, making it hard to judge his nature for the moment. The next life experiences, every scene possible unfolded, which was no longer new to Guan. He could clearly feel Gu Xianxian growing stronger rapidly. In less than 1,000 years since arriving in the mortal world, this guy was about to break through to the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. The growth rate was truly terrifying. The commotion caused by his breakthrough was not small, attracting many strong figures from the Taoyuan Great World to watch. Some even attacked him directly, only to be killed by him, and eventually, it led to the appearance of innate golden immortals. Although Gu Xianxian was no match for the innate golden immortal, he used his innate divine ability, Profound Abyss Yin-Yang Guard, to escape through the void to outer heaven. Thus, Gu Xianxian began to hide again. Grudges, once formed, truly have no end. After arriving at outer heaven, the dangers increased, and the enemies were stronger, but Gu Xianxian's growth rate did not slow down. He crossed into the innate golden immortal realm at less than 300,000 years old, and this was without wantonly slaughtering living beings. At just over 500,000 years old, Gu Xianxian stepped into the heaven-balancing golden immortal realm and then returned to the underworld with Gu Sanlang, who had also grown strong. He came to the banks of the Yellow Springs River, looking at the ceaseless flowing yellow springs, reminiscing about the past, not expecting before he left, a figure shot out from the Yellow Springs, landing before him. It was Tai Hao, who had invited him to the Yellow Springs in search of treasures. What Gu Xianxian and Tai Hao talked about, Guan did not know, but from the prompts, it seemed that they were very happy to be reunited after a long time. Tai Hao revealed that the 9 Yin Divine Mansion monopolized the power of reincarnation, hindering the soul's rebirth. Their sins were beyond measure. He wanted to invite Gu Xianxian to join him in opposing the 9 Yin Divine Mansion, killing the one who hindered reincarnation. Guan got a chance to choose. This time, he didn't choose to avoid the crisis. Gu Xianxian had lived so long, only relying on the other shore heavenly god skill and profound abyss yin-yang guard. Guan felt it was worth a lifespan of 1 billion years, considered it paid off. From then on, he could venture freely, whether he died early or not mattered less, causing fewer killings. So, Gu Xianxian agreed to Tai Hao's invitation, and went with him to the 9 Yin Divine Mansion. This made Tai Hao very happy, and they even became sworn brothers. They are all restless souls. Guan sighed in his heart, as if foreseeing the tragedy. After all, the 9 Yin Divine Mansion still ruled the land of reincarnation in the underworld, while the other shore heaven had ceased to exist. At the age of 501,372, Yu and Tai Hao reached the reincarnation heaven pool of the 9 Yin Divine Mansion. You encountered the Tai Yin reverse dragon guarding the pool. Tai Hao made the first move, and you had to assist. Eventually, you killed the Tai Yin reverse dragon and obtained the reincarnation heaven lotus in the pool. At the age of 501,373, the 9 Yin Divine Mansion sensed your disturbance and sent a large number of disciples to besiege you. It was only then you realized Taihao's true strength far exceeded yours. After a great battle, Taihao took you and escaped the reincarnation heaven pool, reaching the other side of the underworld, where you rested beneath a een tree. At the age of 501,374, Taihao insisted on teaching you a divine skill called Nine Heavens True Dragon Chi. You mastered it in the same year, surprising Taihao greatly. At the age of 501,380, you and Taihao attacked the Nine Een Divine Mansion again, encountering them forging billions of souls into Six Paths ghost artifacts. Displeased, you intervened, leading to a great battle. During the battle, you chose to break through, and a massive lightning from the Great Tao descended upon the Nine Een Divine Mansion. You reached the Tai Ching Golden Immortal Realm but also attracted the strongest of the Nine Een Divine Mansion. Despite you and Taihao's best efforts, you were subdued under a great array. At the critical moment, a powerful mana transported you away. You fell into a coma, and upon waking, you were shocked to discover the powerful being who saved you and your brother was your master, the Other Shore Emperor. The Other Shore Emperor revealed that the Nine Een Divine Mansion had committed countless atrocities, disrupting the Six Paths order. The Other Shore Heaven decided to overthrow the Nine Een Divine Mansion's rule. He had already appealed to the Zongtian, requesting help from immortal gods. Before the immortal gods arrived, he hoped you and Taihao would cultivate first and not act rashly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 748. Against the Immortal Gods. After being saved by the Other Shore Emperor, Gu Xian and Taihao no longer ventured out, focusing on their cultivation steadfastly. However, when it involved immortal gods, Guan always felt things wouldn't be simple and surely wouldn't go smoothly. The facts were as he anticipated. Gu Xian and Taihao cultivated for 1,000 years, and then immortal gods descended upon the land of reincarnation. At the age of 52,392, immortal gods descended upon the land of reincarnation. The Other Shore Emperor led you and Taihao to invade the Nine Een Divine Mansion. As the battle commenced, disciples from Other Shore Heaven also joined in, causing the Nine Een Divine Mansion to fall into a passive state. You began a killing spree, continuously enhancing your comprehension of the Other Shore Heavenly God skill. In the same year, the immortal gods suddenly turned against you, joining forces with the Nine Een Divine Mansion to besiege Other Shore Heaven. Before your master, the Other Shore Emperor, died, he sent you and Taihao away. You and Taihao fell into reincarnation. You landed in a mortal world, regaining consciousness and vowing to avenge the immortal gods. The immortal gods turned against them, indicating it was a plot against Other Shore Heaven. Alternatively, it could be that the Nine Een Divine Mansion had convinced the Celestial Court during the millennium that the Other Shore Emperor was waiting. Although Gu Xian was involved in the downfall of Other Shore Heaven, it wasn't due to him. It was the result of the power struggle between the two forces with the Celestial Court. Guan had only one feeling after reading it. Weakness is the original sin. The powerful immortal gods showed no mercy, changing their stance without hesitation. Stimulated by this, Gu Xian began to crazily seek power. He destroyed the temples and shrines of immortal gods wherever he went, killing anyone who dared to obstruct him. This naturally led to him attracting the enmity of celestial gods within a few hundred years. Now, no celestial god could match him. His path was paved with slaughter, purely out of revenge, which also offered Guan a choice. Gu Xian started traveling to all heavens and myriad realms, targeting celestial gods specifically, as they were the easiest immortal gods for him to find. They existed in every great thousand world. The title of Immortal Slayer began to spread. At the age of 99,866, you entered Nine Elements' great world for the first time and encountered a group of cultivators besieged by cosmic evil demons. You intervened to save them, and one of the female cultivators called out your name. You then realized it was Yen Yueshi, whom you had rejected back then. Reuniting after a long time, you found her temperament had drastically changed. No longer as reckless as before, but very steady. She wanted to apologize, saying her words back then were nonsense. At her invitation, you headed towards the main world of Nine Elements' great world, Yen Yueshi. Seeing her change in attitude, Guan was somewhat pleased. Of course, even if she suddenly turned against Gu Xian and plotted against him, he wouldn't mind. Surviving until now was already profitable. Anything further was just a gain. After arriving at Nine Elements' Great World, the sect of Yen Yueshi and others faced troubles from their enemies, even leading to fierce confrontations. Gu Xian couldn't stand it, intervening directly, using bloodshed to instill fear. Subsequently, he started a killing spree in Nine Elements' Great World, targeting either Yen Yuexi's enemies or followers of celestial gods, forcing the immortal gods to reveal themselves. But he was at the Tai Ching Golden Immortal Realm, and with his past achievements, the celestial gods in Nine Elements' Great World hesitated to face him. When the celestial gods finally appeared, they brought a celestial army. Even immortal monarchs joined the fray. The epic battle shook the entire Great World. In the same year, Gu Xian traversed several great thousand worlds, constantly pursued by immortal gods, locked in relentless conflict. It was only until the following year that Gu Xian astonishingly chose to break through during battle, achieving the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal Realm. The immense thunder of the Great Dao annihilated millions of heavenly soldiers, forcing out an even more powerful immortal god. A mysterious giant hand crossed time and space, seriously injuring Gu Xian, who had just reached the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal Realm. At the critical moment, Tai Hao appeared and rescued Gu Xian, the two of them escaping to the underworld once again. Gu Xian now harbored immense hatred towards immortal gods, beginning a relentless killing spree of any beings that accidentally wandered into the underworld. Tai Hao couldn't stop him but remained by his side. After 10,000 years, Gu Xian reached the Miaojin Daluo Immortal Realm, shaking the entire underworld. Numerous great powers came to visit him. Even the Nine Yin Divine Mansion sent people, who were immediately killed by him. After the visitors dispersed, Tai Hao challenged him, wanting to spar. Guan then faced the choice of whether to accept the challenge. He unhesitatingly chose to accept, believing from previous hints that Tai Hao was extraordinary. Being able to save Gu Xian from immortal gods was evidence enough of his prowess, making it an ideal opportunity to gauge his strength. Thus, Gu Xian began a fierce battle with Tai Hao. This battle lasted over 10,000 years without yielding a winner. During their combat, they also wreaked havoc upon the Nine Yin Divine Mansion and eventually fell into the Netherworld. During the combat, Gu Xian's Other Shore Heavenly God skill, Profound Abyss Yin Yang Guard, and Nine Heavens True Dragon Chi continuously improved, evidently utilizing lifespan to evolve abilities. Yet despite this, Gu Xian didn't gain an advantage over Tai Hao according to the prompts. This guy is indeed strong. His name carries Hao, Ch-Nel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan raised his eyebrows, deep in thought. Sharing a name isn't much, but at higher realms, the taboo becomes greater. Someone at Tai Hao's realm wouldn't easily use Hao as part of their name. Could Tai Hao have a connection with the Celestial Court? The more he thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. Gu Xian survived 2 immortal god sieges with Tai Hao present each time. At the age of 110,271, Tai Hao halts the battle, declaring it a draw. Do you accept? Yes. You chose to accept. Tai Hao praised your talent and comprehension as the strongest he has ever seen, agreeing to spar again after surpassing the Daluo Immortal Realm. You happily agreed. Afterwards, you two decided to rest for 100 years and then completely flatten the Nine Yin Divine Mansion. At the age of 110,371, you and Tai Hao descended upon the Nine Yin Divine Mansion, destroying it. As you prepared to wipe them out, a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal arrived. Feeling he wasn't an opponent, Tai Hao pulled you away, and you two left the underworld, arriving in the mortal world. At the age of 110,372, you and Tai Hao arrived at the Taisher Great World, which was being ravaged by chaos evil demons. You chose to intervene, and within less than half a year, you eradicated the chaos evil demons in this world. At the age of 110,399, you and Tai Hao arrived at Abyss Dao Sea and discovered a spiritual spring by chance. You chose to bathe there, strengthening your bodies. Ghost Third Brother's ghost body also transformed. At the age of 110,653, you and Tai Hao left Abyss Dao Sea, entering the path of the Great Dao. You encountered the birth of a Taoist emperor, who, noticing your formidable aura, chose to attack you. You killed him fiercely, offending his sect behind him. With others using divine sense, they threatened to consign you to eternal damnation. At the age of 110,701, the Donglan Emperor clan descended upon the path of the Great Tao, besieging Yu too. In the end, Yu and Taihao slaughtered thousands of cultivators from the Donglan Emperor clan. At the age of 110,702, Yu arrived at Primordial Emperor Domain and exterminated the Donglan Emperor clan. In the same year, your other shore Heavenly God skill reached a new level of achievement. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 749. All our reincarnation bodies again, the Primordial Emperor Domain. There are indeed many Emperor clans in the Primordial Emperor Domain. Now Guan can see the Primordial Emperor Domain clearly. It indeed has deep foundations, but there are no supreme experts in the Primordial Emperor Domain. Not to mention Xianqi Primordial Immortal, even the number of Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals is less than 5. Of course, possessing Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals alone is enough to prove the strength of the Primordial Emperor Domain. After exterminating the Donglan Emperor clan, Gu Xianyu and Taihao began to travel through the Primordial Emperor Domain. The days that followed were relatively peaceful, as the Primordial Emperor Domain had no celestial gods to guard it. So Gu Xianyu didn't go on a killing spree. In the subsequent tips, Guan watched them travel around, make many friends, and continuously encounter female cultivators and female demons showing goodwill towards them. Gu Xianyu refused, and Taihao also refused, as if it were a competition. After experiencing so much, the relationship between the two grew closer. After leaving the Primordial Emperor Domain, they still traveled together, traversing the heavens, and more names of the Great Thousand Worlds appeared in the tips. Gu Zuanyus' realm also stagnated. To be precise, it returned to a normal rate of becoming stronger, remaining in the Miaozhen Daluo Immortal realm for a long time. The two went to the Dao fields of great powers to listen to Dao, benefiting immensely, and Taihao even created new divine skills, which he passed on to Gu Xianyu. Gu Xianyu wasn't as creative as Taihao. He invested his lifespan evolution into the other shore Heavenly God skill and profound abyss yin and yang protection. The 9 heavens true dragon chi also improved, but its frequency in the tips was clearly lower than the other two. At this rate, it's hard to die. While rejecting a Miaozhen Daluo immortal female expert for Gu Xianyu, Guan sighed. The sea breeze blew gently, and sitting on the reef, he couldn't help but stretch lazily. The smoothness of this life made him feel somewhat bored, but he could only wait. The age in the tips rapidly increased, and even after tens of millions of years, Gu Xianyu did not encounter any sieges by immortal gods. However, his cultivation realm had reached the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. He was inseparable from Taihao, going everywhere together. They visited the Endless Dao Mountain to listen to the Dao, gaining great fame and receiving exalted titles from the ancient great powers of the Endless Dao Mountain, being called the 2 great saints of the Great Dao. CTH Novelfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This ancient great power was called the Supreme Sect Master, whose cultivation was unfathomable, and even Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals bowed to him. In the current Endless Dao Mountain, Guan hadn't heard of this name. The Supreme Sect Master openly declared in the Dao field that Gu Xianyu and Taihao had the potential to become saints. The potential to become saints? Guan was somewhat curious, but from the tips, he couldn't understand what the potential to become saints was. After being bestowed with their titles by the Supreme Sect Master, Gu Xianyu and Taihao's fame spread far and wide. Wherever they went, great powers from various sects and clans came to welcome them, leading to much less conflict. It wasn't until Gu Xianyu was over 100 million years old that he experienced only a few major battles, and his cultivation realm still remained at the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal. He seemed to be no longer in a hurry and no longer relied on lifespan evolution abilities. When approaching 200 million years old, Gu Xianyu encountered Yan Yueshi again. Even after so many years, her affection for him hadn't changed, and she even wanted to leave her sect to travel the heavens with him. This time, Guan agreed because he saw that Gu Zuanyus' mental state had changed in the tips. Reaching this realm, if he still refused his beloved for fear of trouble, it would indeed be too pathetic. Yan Yuexis joining greatly displeased Taihao, leading to many arguments between the two, often stopped by Gu Zuanyus' words. Yan Yueshi hoped Gu Xianyu could stop, marry her, and become Dao companions. Tai Hao, however, believed that the Great Tao is long and that one should not stop before seeing the end of the Great Tao. This argument persisted until the arrival of the immortal gods. Countless immortal gods descended, surrounding the three, and even several supreme immortals joined the fray. After fighting for hundreds of years, Yan Yueshi was captured. The immortal gods threatened Gu Xianyu to surrender. This time, Guan had no choice, indicating that Gu Xianyu had no hesitation in his heart. He told Tai Hao to escape alone, then walk towards the supreme immortals. Ultimately, he was captured by the immortal gods. Guan thought it was the end for him, but the tips continued. He was brought to the celestial court, where a celestial Tao venerable ordered him to be thrown into the heavenly prison. He began meditating and seeking enlightenment in the heavenly prison. During this time, many immortal gods came to recruit him, some for the Son of Heaven, others for the celestial Tao venerable, but Guan refused them all. Now, Guan only wished for Gu Xianyu to end his life soon, to avoid exposing his lifespan-stealing ability. However, the celestial court wouldn't kill him. After being suppressed for tens of millions of years, someone came to visit him, and it was Yan Yueshi. She had already ascended to the immortal class, becoming a celestial god in the celestial court. She persuaded Gu Xianyu to submit, saying the celestial court was invincible, and even the strongest beings had to be bound by the heavenly Tao. Gu Xianyu thought of his deceased master and the slaughtered other shore heaven. Despite his beloved's persuasion, he still refused to bow his head. No matter how she tried, Gu Xianyu remained adamant. Yan Yueshi became very angry, warning him harshly, which reminded Guan of the time Gu Xianyu first rejected her. Although this time Yan Yueshi was concerned about Gu Zuanyu's life and death, Guan felt she did not understand Gu Xianyu. If Guan felt this way, how much more so would Gu Xianyu, who directly faced Yan Yueshi? In the endless years in the heavenly prison, the tips became simpler. Whether it was cultivation, Tao techniques or divine skills, it took many years to progress. Even at 100 billion years, Gu Xianyu still hadn't surpassed the Tao extreme Daluo immortal realm. That year, the heavenly prison shook. The tips revealed a world-shaking fierce demon was causing havoc in the celestial court, heading towards the heavenly prison, destroying its formation and allowing those suppressed strong beings, including Gu Xianyu, to escape. After escaping the heavenly prison, Gu Xianyu saw the fierce demon's figure. The demon's strength greatly shocked him, making him feel it was an opportunity. So instead of fleeing the celestial court, he chose to cause chaos with the demon, killing as many immortal gods as possible to avenge his master. But immortal gods can't be killed. They always revive. Even Tao Extreme Daluo immortals feel powerless in endless battles. Finally, 3 celestial Tao venerables descended to capture the fierce demon. Gu Xianyu also prepared himself for death. Before dying, he glanced at Yan Yueshi standing among the vast army of immortal gods, looking down at him with resentment, seemingly blaming his choice. In the tips, Gu Zuanyu's heart felt no bitterness. Instead, he felt relieved and had no regrets. At the critical moment, a terrifying power pierced through the celestial court's destiny, saving Gu Xianyu. The one who saved him was Tai Hao. Tai Hao took Gu Xianyu to chaos. Surviving even this, Guan felt a bit helpless. 100 billion years of life memories must be so long. The inheritance process must be exhausting, especially since Gu Xianyu hadn't died yet, and the weight of the memories kept increasing. After escaping the range of the heavenly Tao, Tai Hao stood in the chaos void and looked at you. His expression made you feel unfamiliar. Tai Hao said he was very disappointed in you, thinking you were held back by romantic feelings. Without Yan Yueshi, you wouldn't have ended up like this. He couldn't stand your current state and challenged you to a life-and-death duel. Looking into his eyes, you knew he was serious, and you accepted the challenge. After an epic battle lasting 1 billion years in the collapsing and chaotic Great Tao Void, you and Tai Hao perished together. Before your consciousness completely dissipated, you realized that you were just a reincarnation body. Not only you, but Tai Hao was also a reincarnation body of some existence, emitting a celestial Tao destiny far surpassing the celestial Tao venerable. Meeting Tai Hao's gaze, you seemed to comprehend that your battle would continue. You are killed. Reincarnation ends. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 750. The meaning of reincarnation. It's finally over. Guan looked at the last prompt, feeling emotional in his heart. But regarding Gu Xian's feelings before his death, he felt a bit uneasy. The heavenly Tao destiny that far surpassed the celestial Tao venerable. Why did it sound so much like the celestial emperor? The celestial emperor had been in seclusion for many years. Creating billions of reincarnation bodies was normal. Thinking about it carefully, as long as Tai Hao was there, they could always escape from the siege of the immortal gods. As Guan was contemplating, a vast and boundless memory flooded into his mind. He didn't move or activate the lifespan barrier. Although the inherited memories would absorb spiritual energy, the celestial spirit great world had long since transformed. The nature's spiritual energy far surpassed the past, making a little commotion wasn't an issue. Moreover, even if the beings of the celestial spirit great world came nearby, they would be unable to perceive his existence with the naked eye. In the process of integrating the memories, Guan walked once again through Gu Xian's memories. Compared with the previous cycles of reincarnation, Gu Xian's life experiences were different from others. Born of the profound abyss fruit, he was insensitive to time, and his concepts and cognitions were above the human world. Gu Xian's innate divine ability, the profound abyss yin-yang shield, was very powerful. It formed a protective qi with the profound abyss qi and the path of yin and yang. This qi could counteract enemy attacks and allow him to traverse space, a divine skill for both offense and defense. The Other Shore Heavenly God skill taught by the Other Shore Emperor was also a remarkable creation. The Other Shore Emperor himself admitted that it was by obtaining this skill that he opened up the Other Shore Heaven, and its name originated from this skill. Whether it was the profound abyss yin-yang shield or the Other Shore Heavenly God skill, both were worth over 1 billion years of lifespan, making this cycle's lifespan reincarnation quite profitable. Compared with these, Guan was more concerned about Tai Hao. When he first saw Tai Hao, he didn't think much of it, but after integrating the memories and looking back, he felt a bit dazed. Tai Hao looked too much like An Hao, but had more imposing mannerisms than An Hao, possessing an invincible air. During the days fighting side by side with Tai Hao, Gu Xian was often astounded by Tai Hao. It was because of Tai Hao that he fought desperately to become stronger. However, no matter how many years of lifespan he invested in his evolution, Tai Hao always remained unfathomable. Their first confrontation ended in a draw, but Guan felt that Tai Hao had deliberately held back, fearing that he would be discouraged. The final battle, though, forced Tai Hao to go all out, and it was undeniable that Tai Hao was exceedingly strong. Even though it was the 9 heavens true dragon Qi, Gu Xian's achievements were far inferior to Tai Hao's. Even as Guan looked back now, he felt that Tai Hao's strength at that time was unimaginable. Within the Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal Realm, it was hard to imagine anyone defeating him. This further confirmed to him that Tai Hao was indeed the Celestial Emperor's reincarnation body. Getting entangled with the Celestial Emperor was not a good thing, but the lifespan reincarnation could isolate cause and effect. If the Celestial Emperor could deduce his existence, he would have already found him, considering that Gu Xian and Tai Hao were in the past. Wait a minute. Could it be the Celestial Emperor's means that brought An Hao before him? No, if that was the case, the Celestial Emperor could have appeared long ago. Moreover, An Hao had gone through many twists and turns before appearing to him. He was handed over to the Celestial Spirit Immortal Venerable by Emperor Ziwei, and then brought to the Celestial Spirit Great World by the Celestial Spirit Immortal Venerable. If the Celestial Emperor was behind the scheme, why go to such trouble? Guan felt that his ability to manipulate lifespan was very strong, and that it likely had greater causal power than the Celestial Emperor's. He did not dwell on this issue because no matter what, the events had already transpired, and his past with An Hao could not be erased. Instead of agonizing over the past, it was better to think about the future. Gu Xian's life gave him many insights. So many great powers made the great Tao of all heavens seem much richer. Many beings no longer existed, but their existence proved the profoundness of the great Tao of all heavens. The Supreme Sect Master, who lectured in the Endless Tao Mountain, made him feel that his cultivation level perhaps surpassed the Xian Qi Primordial Immortal. In addition, during that battle in the Celestial Court, he saw the figure of a fierce demon who wreaked havoc in the Celestial Court. Although the demon's cultivation was not as high as his, it could be confirmed that the demon was definitely a Xian Qi Primordial Immortal. 9 out of 10, the demon had just entered the Xian Qi Primordial Immortal Realm, believing itself invincible on its path, and thus fought its way to the celestial court. If it didn't have such cultivation, it wouldn't have been able to break into the celestial court. For a powerful figure like a Dao Extreme Dao Immortal trying to forcefully break into the celestial court, those celestial Dao venerables, supreme immortals would definitely intervene, never giving the Dao Extreme Dao Immortal the chance to break in. Of course, even if a Dao Extreme Dao Immortal couldn't break in, escaping while besieged by immortal gods would not be difficult. That fierce demon could have escaped, but chose to fight to the death, likely bearing a deep blood vendetta, with killing intent heavier than Gu Xian's. The posture of standing alone against billions of immortal gods left a deep impression on Guan opened his eyes. The ocean in front of him churned incessantly. In the distance, he saw the silhouettes of cultivators exploring. No one could perceive him. The Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He didn't get up immediately. Instead, he raised his right hand, and strands of black qi emerged from his palm, followed by white qi. The black and white qi intertwined, seemingly following some kind of pattern. Profound Abyss Yin-Yang Shield. This divine skill, having been continuously evolved by Gu Xian, had reached an extremely profound level. Even compared to the divine skills Guan currently mastered, it was top tier. Only the absolute void eye could barely surpass it. Just mastering the other shore heavenly god skill and profound Abyss Yin-Yang Shield, Gu Xian could already conquer the all heavens and myriad realms. Originally, Guan planned to undergo more lifespan reincarnations to celebrate breaking the trillion-year lifespan mark, but just Gu Xian's life made him feel pained. He didn't want to undergo lifespan reincarnation again. He decided to rest for a few million years first. Guan stood up and walked towards the Taoist field of the beginningless. In one step, he arrived at the edge of the Taoist field of the beginningless. Following his usual habit, he admired the scenery along the way. The mountain was still the same mountain, but the flowers and plants on it were constantly changing. Some seemed no different from the past, but had long since undergone a cycle of new and old replacement. As he walked, Guan was still reminiscing about Gu Xian's life. Gu Xian was different from other reincarnation bodies. Though he performed heroic deeds, he had no humanity. He resembled an immortal, thinking differently from the mortal spirits. When faced with Yen Yuex's persuasion, he could decisively sever his emotions. He didn't fear hardship or loneliness, always determined to accomplish what he believed in. Compared to personal gain, he cared about his own path and the meaning of his existence. Seeking revenge against the immortal gods, aside from obsession, was also to find his own value. He was born from the profound abyss ancient tree, with no parents, and the tree itself had not become sentient. He was a creation of the heavenly Tao, not knowing his origin or his destiny. During the billions of years he was imprisoned in the heavenly prison, he kept pondering why he existed. These thoughts had now all been transmitted into Guan's mind. What is the meaning of reincarnation? Guan also pondered this question. The great Tao could create new life. There was no need for souls to be reborn repeatedly. Master! A voice called out. Chapter 751. The Immortal Arrives. Born for the destiny. Looking at the small tree in Sin's hand, Guan could feel a formidable curse power contained within the tree, eerily similar to the malevolent force of the desperate celestial tomb. If one were to be ensnared by the tree's vines, their mana would dissipate. Even if one could manage to escape, they would be plagued by misfortune for the rest of their life. Guan chuckled softly. Not bad, but you must be careful of being backfired by this kind of power. Sin nodded, then began to speak excitedly, describing the inspiration and future plans for this divine skill. In Gu Xian's long life, he had done many things, but never took on a disciple. After merging with his memories, facing his disciple again, he felt a sense of novelty. As he regarded Sin, he suddenly understood the meaning of reincarnation. To the great Tao, reincarnation was of little help, but to those beings with regrets in their hearts, reincarnation was hope. The existence of the path of reincarnation made the world constructed by the great Tao not just one of birth and destruction. Having figured this out, Guan no longer dwelled on the matter. Compared to such questions, there were many other things worth pondering. What shall I do tomorrow? Should I listen to music, or indulge in wine and pleasure? Never mind. I'll combine both. In the darkness, a figure appeared out of thin air, his entire body shining with the strong light of the heavenly Tao, clad in heavy silver armor and wrapped in a long golden scarf, looking extraordinarily divine. He lowered his eyes, his expression cold and indifferent, and within his eyes, specks of starlight appeared, seemingly containing two universes. Indeed, full of life, but alas, everything shall be reshaped. The happiness, pain, hatred, and hope you now possess will become meaningless, yet seeing the presence of immortal gods in one's lifetime is fortunate enough, a life not lived in vain. The silver armor immortal god muttered to himself as he raised his right hand, and a golden scroll appeared in his hand, unfolding it with his left hand. In an instant, the scroll burst forth with brilliant golden light, dazzling like the sun, illuminating the darkness. Strands of golden energy gushed out, increasingly faster, countless in number, all flying toward the darkness below, forming a magnificent river of golden chi. At the same time, deep within the void of the 3,000 great worlds emerged innumerable golden chi, quickly growing larger, surging toward the heavens and the earth of various realms. Guan, standing side by side with Xiaolan, slightly raised his eyes, and through the celestial spirit great world, he saw the conditions of the other great thousand worlds. Chapter 752. The growth of wuxia. After Guan pointed out the method for awakening the primordial chaos body to Xiaolan, he did not ask more about the situation of that Xiao family genius. Nor did Xiaolan expect him to personally oversee it. It was enough to obtain this method. Afterwards, she no longer mentioned the matter but instead took Guan to continue touring the Xiao family grounds. In the present day, the Xiao family dominated a region, and there were considerable changes every 100 years. She knew Guan liked to wander, so she planned to show him around more. If Guan liked this place, he could come often in the future. After the two left, a young man in white clothes on the square opened his eyes and looked towards the grand palace ahead. Strange. Was that feeling just an illusion? The young man muttered to himself, looking around before closing his eyes again and continuing his cultivation. As time passed, Guan, besides the fixed monthly schedule of picking medicinal herbs, spent all his remaining time relaxing. He even transformed into a mortal to play in the human world. He had been a farmer, a scholar, fished along the coast, hunted in the deep mountains, and had even been a powerful court minister in the court, stirring up trouble. Each identity would come to its conclusion. He never maintained any cause and effect with anyone, nor did he reveal his identity as a cultivator. In this way, 800,000 years quickly passed since he inherited the memory of Gu Xian. Over the past 800,000 years, the struggle for the Son of Heaven had completely erupted, with those powerful great thousand worlds bearing the brunt, becoming battlefields. The celestial Tao destiny also began to spread, affecting more and more great worlds. The celestial spirit great world wasn't exempt from this turmoil either. More and more talents were emerging in the celestial spirit great world, some even possessing physiques not inferior to the primordial chaos body. The growth speed of talents could verify the foundation of a sect, and the clashes between talents also became excuses for the ambitious. The friction among the 9 sects was growing. There was no eternal peace, and for many strong individuals, peace was instead a restraint. They lay dormant, waiting for the opportunity to stir the winds and clouds of the world. This year, it was rare for Guan to host the Chinese New Year at the Taoist Field of the Beginningless, under Nzai's organization. The New Year was very lively. Some 4th-generation disciples were drinking with Guan for the first time and were very excited. At the spring banquet, Guan agreed that the 4th-generation disciples could start accepting disciples. The standard was the same as for the 4th-generation disciples. They could only accept one disciple. The 4th-generation disciples could then accept a second disciple, which made the disciples even happier. They were filled with emotions for the beginningless and naturally hoped it would grow stronger. Beneath the beginningless was the 9-spirit continent, a land rich in people and resources. With a call to arms, many would kneel before the dojo. The beginningless didn't lack sources of talent, but it lacked Guan's approval. As evening approached, Guan swayed the wine jug, gazing at the sunset. His eyes reflected an earth-shattering battle, one great thousand world invading another. Continuous streams of living beings crossed the void, never stopping even if they were torn to pieces. Sar the Fire. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Master, I've written a roster recording all the disciples. Would you like to take a look? An Exian came to Guiana's side and asked softly. Guan had restrictions on the disciples accepted by the third and fourth generation disciples, but not on the second generation disciples. Now the number of disciples in the beginning list had exceeded 150. Even the youngest disciple had grown up and could stand alone if they went out. Of course, to leave the beginning list, one must at least cultivate to the Zai immortal realm. Guan accepted the roster, opened it with one hand, and reviewed it carefully. He mainly focused on Nzin's writing, from which he could see the depth of her Tao intent and her mood while writing. Master, if the struggle for the Son of Heaven affects the celestial spirit great world, can the disciples be given a chance to train? An Exian saw that Guan was in a good mood today, so she smiled and asked softly. Cultivation, apart from achieving longevity, was essentially about becoming stronger than others. After practicing for millions of years, only sparring with fellow sect members had become tedious for the disciples. They also wanted to vanquish demons and save all living beings, just like the stories Guan wrote in his books. An Exian also wanted to do something, to put her learning to use. All right, you can arrange it then. Guan glanced at an Exian, smiling. His response made an Exian uneasy, fearing that Guan might be angry. Master, if you don't want us to do this, we can refrain from going out. An Exian quickly expressed her intentions. Guan smiled helplessly and said, I wouldn't play mind games with you all. Since I've agreed, it means I truly consent. Hearing this, an Exian finally breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't know why, but over the past million years, she felt Master had become more and more dignified. Although he still smiled, an extraordinary aura of transcendence brought her increasing pressure with each passing day. If she felt this way, what more the other disciples? Guan heard her thoughts but did not explain. Nowadays, he no longer cared about what others thought. Even if they were nervous facing him, so what? After all, he would not harm the people around him. Nervousness wouldn't affect anything. He was now thinking about one thing: when to break through. Currently, he had a lifespan of 16 trillion years. A vast amount, but he felt it wasn't stable enough for a breakthrough. Of course, if he were to wait for a quadrillion years, he wouldn't be able to endure it. After hearing Guan's words, an Exian felt she had overthought, beginning to speculate on what Master was thinking. Master wasn't a petty person. He either agreed or disagreed, never letting the disciples guess. Then, she toasted Guan with a glass of wine before bowing and taking her leave. In the torn dark void, figures of living beings were fighting everywhere. More than the stars, a heartbreaking sight. Explosions appeared continuously in all directions, with distortions in time and space, mysterious shadows traversing the darkness. Zhang Buku, clad in silver armor, was also fighting. He wielded a long spear, his momentum unstoppable. No one could block him, and his gaze was always fixed on a massive shadow in the distance. Molo Qilin. Zhang Buku didn't know the name of this demon, nor could he see its true form, only the crimson eyes of the Molo Qilin, which filled him with dread. What a terrifying evil demon! Its momentum was even stronger than the celestial calming god. He was filled with confusion, wondering how the Son of Heaven could drive such an evil demon to fight for him. Did the celestial court not intervene? Although he was a heavenly soldier with the status of an immortal god, he didn't even have the qualification to step into the celestial court. Sometimes thinking about it made him feel bitter. But after the bitterness came an even greater fighting spirit. He must ascend the heavenly ascension stairs. He must go to the celestial court. Zhang Buku's eyes grew determined as he cast aside his inner distractions and charged towards the Molo Qilin. The struggle for the Son of Heaven had begun. Their task was to seize this great thousand world. As pioneers, they could not retreat. The celestial court's destiny kept them immortal. Since they wouldn't die, even if the opponent was strong, he would fight fearlessly. Many heavenly soldiers had the same thought, all striving to slay the Molo Qilin. In the exceedingly distant void, atop the gigantic Molo Qilin's head stood a man in black. He crossed his arms over his chest, his face coldly arrogant. He looked down at the heavenly soldiers charging toward him with contempt in his eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 753. The Crazy Immortal. The immortal gods of the celestial court are truly foolish and arrogant. The man in black muttered in a low voice. He raised his right hand and reached forward into the air as if it were a dragon's claw. With a wave, a vast expanse of black energy surged forward, sweeping relentlessly. Within the rolling black mist emerged countless figures clad in black armor, strikingly similar to the heavenly soldiers, but entirely black. As soon as this dark heavenly army emerged, their terrifying murderous intent shook the entire battlefield, drawing innumerable creatures to turn their heads and look. On this void battlefield, apart from the heavenly soldiers and evil demons, there were more Taoists from the two great worlds, from all races, making it extremely chaotic. The battlefield was vast and impossible to judge with the naked eye, yet even so, this dark heavenly army made all beings feel a sense of dread. All heavenly soldiers, follow me and kill! The loud shout of the celestial calming god rang out. As soon as the words fell, tens of thousands of heavenly soldiers shouted in unison. The celestial Tao destiny within them fully erupted, wrapping around them like true sun fire, increasing their momentum dramatically. At this moment, at the edge of the void, Feng Xian and the 6 others who had sworn brotherhood with the Blood Prison Great Saint were also fighting fiercely, and from afar, they were all shocked and alarmed. Brother, such a battlefield is not something we can meddle in. These people and those heavenly soldiers, they are simply insane. Heavenly soldiers are immortal and naturally fearless. Those people are fighting desperately for immortal fate. If second brother were here, he would definitely also fight desperately. Feng Xian listened to his brother's words, without a sound. They kept their distance from each other, seemingly fighting individually, but actually cooperating, full of tacit understanding. Feng Xian's heart was also restless, hesitating whether to retreat. Search * The Oval Fire. @ website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He remembered that heavenly army, who had previously captured them. If it hadn't been for the intervention of the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Although these heavenly soldiers were not a match for the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, their own strength was very formidable. But such a powerful heavenly army seemed like challengers on this void battlefield. Feng Xian gazed at the terrifying figure of the demonic Qilin, filled with dread and curiosity. Fight at the edge, do not approach, Feng Xian said, and the other 5 naturally had no objections. Unlike the warring factions, they had not decided to join any faction of the Son of Heaven. They came to observe the situation first, only to be entangled by a group of madmen upon arrival. These beings did not know them nor felt the same destiny, directly treating them as enemies. Now Feng Xian and the 6 seemed like a third-party faction, as beings from both great worlds would target them. Because they were here for immortal fate, they dared not go all out, rather, they were restricted in their actions. This battlefield was merely a microcosm of the 3,000 great worlds, with hundreds of void battlefields fighting simultaneously, each battlefield featuring demonic Qilins and heavenly soldiers. All of this was in Gu An's eyes. Just the struggle for the Son of Heaven had sent out more than 10 million heavenly soldiers. The Celestial Court's foundation was deep indeed. In the memories of Gu Xian, Guan had witnessed truly powerful heavenly armies, far beyond what these heavenly soldiers could compare. To enter the Celestial Court, one must at least be at the Tai Ching Golden Immortal Realm. Within the Celestial Court, there was a heavenly army with the lowest cultivation level being Tai Ching Golden Immortal, which once dispatched 1 million soldiers to besiege those fierce demons. 1 million Tai Ching Golden Immortals, how terrifying, and they were immortal. Destroyed, they could be revived with the Celestial Court's destiny. When Gu Xian was besieged by the immortal gods of the Celestial Court, he often felt powerless. Even though the enemies were like insects in his eyes, he couldn't kill them. Over time, these insects posed a great nuisance to him, and moreover, the Celestial Court did not only send heavenly soldiers to besiege him. Each war in the struggle for the Son of Heaven would last for many years, fighting until one side completely lost their will to fight. Defeat would lead to escape, as many defeated beings, ashamed to face their master, would flee the struggle for the Son of Heaven, escaping to great worlds yet untouched by war. 1,000 years later, Several uninvited guests fled to the celestial spirit great world. They did not come through the world gate, angering the celestial spirit god, who directly killed them. This was just the beginning. In order to maintain his celestial authority, the celestial spirit god became the guardian of the celestial spirit great world. But as the invading beings grew stronger, the celestial spirit god of the heaven-balancing golden immortal realm began to feel pressure. Fortunately, the Tai immortal monarch timely assisted, sending the 72 immortals of Jin Dong to help capture the invaders of the celestial spirit great world. Guan was very satisfied with Tai immortal monarch's attitude. He acted even without instructions. Despite past grievances, once becoming allies, he became more and more pleased with Tai immortal monarch, even more so than the celestial spirit god. Over these millions of years, Tai immortal monarch and the 72 immortals of Jin Dong did many things for the human world, leaving numerous legends and legacies of immortal gods. The development of the celestial spirit great world owed part of its success to them. Tai immortal monarch could not guess what Guan wanted, but he was sure that benefiting the celestial spirit great world would satisfy Guan. When Guan did not stop him, he felt he had found the right direction. As more and more outer heaven invaders arrived, they stirred up increasing chaos in the human world. Some took disciples, whose masters might not reveal their purpose, and when the master died, the disciples naturally sought revenge, snowballing into hatred. This hatred even extended to the celestial spirit god, Tai immortal monarch, and other immortal gods. The immortal gods were indifferent, but they underestimated human nature. Another 50,000 years passed. The celestial spirit great world erupted in conflict. The 9 sects began to battle individually, and other sects quickly chose sides, starting to fight. Though the Tao court had dissolved, its legends remained, with many aspiring to achieve world unity. Stirred by or aided by outer heaven invaders, they could no longer suppress their ambitions. To the invaders, the more chaotic the world, the better they could hide. Above the sea of clouds, a magnificent giant red pavilion floated, with clouds rolling below. Occasionally, there were ridge-like grand qilin horns undulating, sparking imagination. Li Xuanmiao and the celestial destruction god stood side by side on the terrace, gazing into the distance. The celestial destruction god still wore divine armor, sharp and imposing, while Li Xuanmiao exhibited the transcendence of an enlightened immortal. This struggle for the Son of Heaven affects the 3,000 great worlds. Is it really all right? Li Xuanmiao asked, his eyes seeing the chaos in the 3,000 great worlds. The struggle for the Son of Heaven was far more terrifying than he imagined. What baffled him most was that the celestial court was unconcerned with the situation of the 3,000 great worlds. The immortal gods cared more about their own cultivation, and were more vigilant about whether strong realms beyond the 3,000 great worlds had offensive intentions. I have heard that the celestial Tao Venerable possesses divine skills to create the 3,000 great worlds. Even if they annihilated, the Supreme would recreate them. The 3,000 great worlds are dispensable to the celestial court. The celestial destruction god said emotionlessly. Li Xuanmiao turned his head towards him and asked, if that's the case, why create the 3,000 great worlds? The celestial destruction god answered, because the 3,000 great worlds are established by the great Tao. If missing, the power of the great Tao would fill the void, affecting celestial Tao destiny. Moreover, the celestial court needs all living beings' worship to enhance destiny. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 754. The inevitable conclusion. The celestial destruction god's response made profound mystery think of many possibilities, and he began to suspect heavenly Tao itself. The two fell into silence, each lost in thought. The enormous red pavilion continued its journey, the mysterious ridged armor below subtly visible through the clouds, with a low thunder-like breathing sound faintly heard. All right, don't overthink it. You are already an immortal god and should no longer view problems from a mortal's perspective. Excessive compassion will only harm you. The celestial court has celestial rules. If you stay in the celestial court long enough, you'll realize that all your current concerns are meaningless. The celestial destruction god spoke. Although his immortal position was one rank lower than profound mystery, Their relationship was very amiable, and Profound Mystery did not require him to be overly formal in private. Profound Mystery nodded and said, "Perhaps I really do need to adjust my mindset." Saying this, he still felt a deep dissatisfaction with the immortal gods. The reason he had followed Guan initially was that he believed Guan to be an immortal god. Later, real immortal gods appeared, but they were not like he had imagined. The true protector of all living beings was Guan. When he arrived at the celestial court, he held on to a faint hope that the celestial court internally would be compassionate towards all living beings, but that turned out not to be the case. In the celestial court, let alone compassion for mortal spirits, if he didn't initiate, not a single immortal god would mention the 3,000 great worlds. He heard more about Primordial Emperor Domain, Misty Immortal Court, Endless Tao Mountain, Abyss Tao Sea, and other great Tao realms. The different levels made it difficult for Profound Mystery to adapt. The 3,000 great worlds had so little presence. How could he not feel disheartened? This struggle for the Son of Heaven is likely to last many years. It is said that the cultivation levels of the two Sons of Heaven are roughly the same, and now they are both in seclusion. No matter which side gains the upper hand, they will eventually face off against each other. The more destiny their camps accumulate, beyond showcasing their talents, it also boosts their own destiny. Once the Sons of Heaven take action, the 3,000 great worlds are destined to turn to ashes. The celestial destruction god spoke softly and then paused before saying, "With the divine venerables around, the struggle for the Son of Heaven should not involve us. You can rest easy." CTH Novel Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Profound Mystery shook his head and said, "I'm not afraid of trouble." Never mind. Let's not talk about this anymore. I heard the quota for the 100,000 stars has been opened. Are you really going to try? The celestial destruction god nodded and said, "I managed to transfer from under the god of destruction to under the divine venerable. I must now complete the transformation of my divine authority. The stars are good. It allows for peaceful cultivation and easier access to the great Tao." Profound Mystery, being an immortal monarch, had yet to secure a specific immortal authority. However, he was not worried because his master, the radiant divine venerable, had already made arrangements for him. Now, apart from cultivation, he represented his master, walking through the heavenly realm, using his master's name to acquaint himself with various immortal gods. The two began discussing their upcoming travels. The immortal palace they were visiting also had significant backing, and even the celestial destruction god looked forward to this trip. He benefited from Profound Mystery's influence. This kind of visit wasn't just for conversation. They would either get to hear the Tao or receive the other's bounty. Not only did various immortal gods respect the radiant divine venerable, but they also had high hopes for Profound Mystery's future. Anyone who could pass the heavenly Taoist test and ascend had boundless potential. The test imposed by the heavenly Tao was a battle between mortal spirits and immortal gods, its difficulty nearly impossible to overcome. Despite the celestial court owning countless universes, those who could ascend like Profound Mystery were few and far between. Many relied on connections with immortal gods for selection to immortality. A day in heaven is a year on earth, and conflicts in the 3,000 great worlds were rapidly evolving. Another 10,000 years passed, and there was no pure land left in the 3,000 great worlds, filled everywhere with slaughter and war. This year, in the celestial spirit great world, sects were contending for supremacy externally, while evil demons invaded from outside. Even the celestial spirit god guarding the world gate experienced defeat. Disciples of Wuxia began to emerge, rescuing the suffering beings. In the imperial palace on the Taitsong continent, Guan was playing chess with Li Xiandao. The weather was cool, and a gentle breeze stroked their hair. At this moment, Li Xiandao frowned deeply, pondering. Guan casually waved a folding fan in one hand and held a teacup in the other, feeling utterly at ease. Even the 10 or so shooting stars streaking across the sky did not catch his attention. Li Xiandao took a deep breath and said, "I lost." He lifted his eyes to Guan, wanting to speak but hesitating. "You have something on your mind. Speak up, don't hold it in," Guan said with a smile. As long as he didn't deliberately avoid it, anyone's inner thoughts would directly reach his ears. However, some words still needed to be said by the other party. Li Xiandao stared at Guan intently and said, There are unified sects in this world, but no unified imperial dynasty. Even the bygone Holy Court focused primarily on the immortal cultivation realm, disregarding the safety and well-being of common people. I want the Taitsong dynasty to become the ruler of the world. I want to be an unprecedented emperor. Over the years, Li Xiandao had always been cautious, considering Guan in every decision to avoid disapproval, which was why the Taitsong dynasty had remained problem-free. With Guan around, Li Xiandao never acted recklessly. But over time, he too would feel weary and needed a greater goal to invigorate himself. If you want to contend, then contend. I've never restricted or obstructed you, have I? Guan said with a shake of his head and a laugh. Li Xiandao breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that Guan didn't mind. Then I will strive for it. Over the years, the Taitsong dynasty has been accumulating power. Since Yang Jian left, Long Teng has taken on the responsibilities. He is even stronger than Yang Jian. Speaking of this, pride filled Li Zuando's face. Long Teng was the son of Long Qing, equivalent to Gu An's grand disciple. By virtue of this relationship, Li Xiandao treated Long Teng very well, even allowing the Long family to grow strong. Long Teng did not disappoint him, never overstepping bounds. In both the court and among the people, there was jest that Long Teng was more like a crown prince. Long Teng had indeed grown significantly, achieving the title of primordial Dao Emperor in his youth. Now, he had reached the cultivation level of Daoist Zong Zizai Immortal. He was the face of the Taitsong dynasty, and even if he did not take action, no force dared to offend the Taitsong dynasty in the surrounding seas. He had come this far with considerable help from Gu, and Long Teng's magnanimous and upright character greatly aligned with Gu An's preferences. Now, Guan spent more time visiting him than Long Qing. Li Xiandao was also a Daoist Zong Zizai immortal, but he kept it well hidden. The world only knew him as a free immortal. The strength of his cultivation meant that Li Xiandao was no longer constrained by aristocratic families or sections. The Taitsong dynasty truly belonged to him now. It was what he once dreamed of. Guan smiled and said, "Then let me see how far you can go. Anyway, I won't be helping you. In my eyes, the Taitsong dynasty is no different from any other dynasty in the world. I hope you understand this." In stern tones, Li Xiandao said, "Of course. How could we ask you to intervene in conquering the world? How would the world even play a part if you did? To be honest, the reason I want to unify the world is not only for the sake of all living beings but more so to realize my own ideals. I want to become a figure in the celestial spirit great world's history who is never forgotten. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 755. The Immortal Lectures regarding Li Zuando's ambition. Guan gave no comment. Every person has their own goals, and even the greatest people have their private thoughts. He himself is such a person. Li Xiandao has the right to choose his own life, as long as he does not bring calamity to the entire world. There are so many evil people in this world, and many who stir up warfare. Killing them all is impossible. After chatting with Li Xiandao for half a day, Guan wandered alone in the Taitsong dynasty, while Li Xiandao excitedly returned to the imperial study to start planning his military campaign. Unlike the chaos in various places, the Taitsong continent has always been peaceful, unaffected by the trends of the world. However, even in peaceful lands, there are people in suffering. If Guan encounters them, he does not hesitate to help. He has the ability to save the world, but he does not do so because of the laws of the Great Tao. Helping individuals is simply because he wishes to. Sometimes, when he sees the fate of some people change because of him, Guan feels a sense of joy. His figure disappeared into the vast crowd of the city, seemingly inconspicuous and insignificant to this world. In the void, countless sword shadows floated in all directions, forming a spectacular sword array. Each sword shadow was larger than stars, and within the array stood a disheveled red-clothed sword cultivator, holding a sword, surrounded by violent and chaotic sword chi. His gaze fixed on Liya outside the sword array. Though far apart, their eyes met, causing intense spatial fluctuations along the way. Liya, dressed in black, pointed his finger like a sword, his sword intent emanating naturally. In the dark void behind him, a dreadful sword shadow stood, formed by his sword intent. Such powerful sword intent. Clearly, your cultivation level is just beginning to enter the Taoist collection Freedom Immortal realm, but the strength of your sword intent grants you the ability to excel within your realm. The red-clothed sword cultivator spoke, his tone full of admiration, seemingly unfazed by the sword array before him. Li Ya's eyes were cold, staring at him, and asked, "From which realm do you come? Why have you come to the celestial spirit great world? Why have you sacrificed so many souls to your sword Tao?" The red-clothed sword cultivator laughed and said, "I come from the Qingyu great world, which you should not have heard of. As for why I have come, there are unavoidable reasons. I am severely injured, my sword intent suffering karma retribution, and I need numerous souls to heal." Li Ya frowned, surprised at the other's honesty. Despite the severe injuries, he still possesses such strength. Most found it odd that Gu En, who dressed richly, would argue with a group of children. Mothers with children quickly moved away, fearing Gu En was a bad person. Gu En smiled even wider, his eyes glinting. "What do you understand? If you bought the book Romance of the Three Kingdoms, it would cost more than a roast chicken. If you hired a storyteller of my caliber, it would cost even more, far beyond the price of a jar of wine or a chicken. You've got a good deal." An older boy argued angrily, "Stop lying. It's not an immortal book. It can't be that expensive." "Hey, don't say. There's indeed a version of Romance of the Three Kingdoms about immortal cultivation. Do you know what cultivation technique Zhao Zilong practiced?" Gu An's words quickly dispelled the boy's anger, replaced with curiosity, as other children also showed curious expressions. Guan did not continue to speak but started to devour the chicken leg rapidly, the children urging him. Bang! A figure fell from the sky, landing on a nearby street, raising rolling dust and a strong wind, scaring the children in front of Guan into screams. The people in the street began to flee, turning everything into chaos. As the dust settled, two figures appeared. It was the red-clothed sword cultivator and Li Ya. The red-clothed sword cultivator held Li Ya by the neck with one hand, raising him in the air, covered in blood and very miserable. "Still refused to submit? I've been very restrained. Otherwise this city would have turned to ashes. If you don't agree, I'll extract the souls of everyone in this city before your eyes to offer as sacrifices," the red-clothed sword cultivator sneered. Then his gaze swept around and quickly focused on Guan and the group of children gathered by the courtyard wall, making them stand out conspicuously. Li Ya faced away from Guan, unable to sense his presence, but noticed the red-clothed sword cultivator's gaze, glancing with his peripheral vision. His pupils shrank, and a strange smile appeared on his face. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 756. Unknown Threat. Li Ya was delighted when he saw Guan, so a smile appeared on his face, but this delight was quickly replaced by embarrassment. Sar the Novel Fire, NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Every time he met Guan, he bragged about how free he was outside. Previously, Li Xianyu had exposed his lies in front of Guan, saying he often got injured. It was hard for him to cope with that, and this time, he got caught red-handed by Guan. How could he not be embarrassed? The red-clothed sword cultivator noticed the change in Li Ya's expression. He squinted at Guan, who was surrounded by children, and sneered. "You know this person?" Li Ya replied with difficulty, "I advise you not to act recklessly or else." Before he finished speaking, the red-clothed sword cultivator grabbed him and appeared out of nowhere, standing before the children, scaring them away with cries. The red-clothed sword cultivator scrutinized Guan and asked, "Did you come specifically to rescue him? How could there be such a coincidence? He descended from the sky, chose a random city, and yet, he encountered the captive's acquaintance." Guan looked at the red-clothed sword cultivator and smiled. "I could be or maybe not. If you put him down now, there might still be room to settle the conflict between you two." "Humph." The red-clothed sword cultivator snorted coldly and suddenly reached out towards Guan, moving as swiftly as lightning. Boom! A gust of wind arose out of nowhere, shaking everything on the street. The robes of the red-clothed sword cultivator and Leah fluttered violently. Their eyes widened with fear. Impossible. His hand was blocked by an invisible force, unable to touch Guen. What astonished him the most was that the aura he released should have been enough to obliterate everything within 1,000,000 miles. Yet apart from the strong wind, nothing was destroyed around him. In a split second, he realized the vast difference in power between him and his opponent. Even if he wasn't seriously injured, he wouldn't be a match for this person. Senior. The red-clothed sword cultivator hurriedly spoke, but before he could finish, Guen's eyes turned cold, and he turned to ash. Thud. Leah fell to the ground, half kneeling, and touched his throat, feeling the cold mana dissipating. He turned to Guen and couldn't help but ask, "Did you come specifically to rescue me? You have successfully taken 31,782,281 years of lifespan from the Red Sword Ghost Demon, late stage of heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. Only 31 million years of lifespan, a bit too little." Guen replied, "I have been in this city for 2 days, telling those children the story of the romance of the 3 kingdoms. I've almost finished half of it." Upon hearing this, Leah was horrified. Could it be that Guen had foreseen things to this extent? That red-clothed sword cultivator randomly chose a place to descend but happened to land near Guen. During the descent, he didn't feel Guen's presence, which means Guen really calculated that he would come here, and it was 2 days ago. Leah was now the primordial Tao Emperor. His cultivation level had reached the Taoist collection Freedom Immortal Realm, and he had his understanding of the path of cause and effect derivation. However, he still couldn't fathom how Guen did it. It was too incredible. Seeing Leah's terrified expression, Guen asked with a smile, "What? Do you want me to reveal a bit of heavenly secrets to you? Like today's calamity, you will face more of in the future." No, I don't want to know." Leah hurriedly interrupted, extremely flustered. Even so, Guen's words already left him cold. Would he face similar troubles in the future? Although he often got injured and said he didn't mind, who would want to get hurt if they could avoid it? Leah wasn't a masochist. He didn't fight to get badly injured every time. Unfortunately, his strength was inadequate. Guen changed the topic and asked, "Do you need my help to heal?" Leah's face turned awkward, and he shook his head in refusal. "Then take your time recovering. I'm leaving." Guen said these words and disappeared from where he stood. Was it Leah's illusion, or did he see Guen's lips curl into a smile when he turned around? The feeling of relief from surviving was quickly replaced by embarrassment and shame, making him wish he could find a hole to crawl into. He could only try to think positively that junior brother Gu had saved him more than once, and he should get used to it. Just the thought of being held by the throat and lifted into the air made his face flush with embarrassment. He didn't want to face Guen, and luckily Guen didn't stay longer. According to junior brother Gu, the world will become even more chaotic in the future. Leah thought worriedly, seemingly unable to escape the feeling of powerlessness no matter how high his cultivation level reached. The path of the great Tao was indeed long. When could he become like junior brother Gu, with the ability to laugh at the world? Dust flew as Leah stood on the street, lost in thought until the presence of approaching civilians brought him back to reality. Then he vanished from the spot. Rescuing Leah was just a minor episode. Guen didn't mind much. If it wasn't for this catastrophe that left Leah with no hope, he wouldn't have intervened even if Leah suffered a lot. But this incident was enough to prove that the celestial spirit great world had been forced into the struggle for the Son of Heaven. Besides hiding and creating chaos, some of the outsiders were also working for the Son of Heaven to win over the major sections. In Guen's view, the celestial spirit great world would inevitably fall into turmoil. More and more outer heaven visitors and immortal gods appeared, causing the future of the celestial spirit great world to change daily, all reflected in Guen's eyes. He saw countless outcomes in the future. Knowing all results, he could choose the destiny he was satisfied with, but for now, he didn't want to intervene. As long as the celestial court didn't invade the celestial spirit great world on a large scale, other situations were just minor skirmishes. In a good mood, Guen walked through the mountains, humming a tune while observing the changes in the destiny of heaven and earth. He saw many people's hardships. Even the Tai immortal monarch and the 72 immortals of Jin Dong would fall into dire situations. On the other side, Among the continuous mountains on a hillside, the 72 immortals of Dong were distributed, some meditating and cultivating, some comprehending the rules of heaven and earth, others deducing the future. The purple dragon star monarch looked towards the horizon, his brows furrowed slightly. A female immortal approached him curiously and asked, "Senior brother, what are you looking at? You've been frowning for quite a while." The purple dragon star monarch softly replied, "Something is watching the celestial spirit great world. Even I cannot fully deduce its cause." The female immortal said indifferently, "Now that the struggle for the Son of Heaven has begun, even though the 3,000 great worlds are inhabited by mortal spirits, there are always some Taoists. Perhaps someone is weighing whether to hide in this world. No, it doesn't feel like a mortal spirit." The purple dragon star monarch shook his head. These words made the female immortal feel surprised. Not a mortal spirit? You mean a Son of Heaven has targeted the celestial spirit great world? The female immortal asked. The purple dragon star monarch replied, "It's not a Son of Heaven, and it's not even an immortal. I can't say for sure, but maybe something wants to take advantage of the struggle for the Son of Heaven to commit evil in the 3,000 great worlds." Upon hearing this, the female immortal's face turned serious. Although the celestial court seemed unshakable, there were many hidden enemies, not just within the range of the celestial Tao destiny, but also many terrible beings in the chaos watching the celestial court, waiting for an opportunity. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 757. Tao Extreme lectures on the Tao. Time continued to flow rapidly. In the ever-running river of time, new heroes kept emerging. Some met with death and defeat, while others continued to forge ahead meticulously. The chaotic world was a torment for the mortal spirits, yet for many cultivators, it was a rare opportunity. However, the opportunities they sought often hid an abyss representing death. Another 1,000,000 years passed. Guan, now 11,560,000 years old, was guiding a 7th-generation disciple in cultivation. Indeed, the 7th generation had emerged within the beginningless. Since disciples were now allowed to accept apprentices, Guan did not impose too strict restrictions on his grand-disciples. His only requirement was to accept only one apprentice at a time, and only after that disciple had matured could they take on a second disciple. The beginningless did not engage in worldly disputes, but the grand world gate stood tall, symbolizing the pride of all disciples. Without Guan's orders, they adhered to strict apprenticeship selection. They only considered those who could potentially be the first among their peers. Duanli was very excited. He never expected that while training in the forest today, he would be chosen by ancestor Master Wuxia for guidance. He was so thrilled that he felt dizzy, and much of what Guan said was lost to him, as his mind felt muddled. Guan was quite helpless. This boy was too easily excited, responding without understanding many things. "If you don't settle down soon, I'm leaving," Guan said sternly, instantly jolting Duanli back to his senses. "What am I doing?" Duanli broke into a cold sweat and quickly said in a trembling voice, "Ancestor, I'm sorry, I'm just too excited, I didn't mean it." He was so anxious that he was about to cry. In several decades within the beginningless Taoist field, he had only seen Guan a few times. This was his first conversation with Guan, and it was for cultivation guidance. If he angered Guan, his master, grandmaster, and great-grandmaster wouldn't forgive him. "All right, I'll teach you a brand new cultivation technique. How about that?" Guan suddenly said. How could Duanli refuse? He quickly bowed to thank Guan and allowed Duanli to kneel. He raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at Duanli's forehead. Just as Duanli looked up, his pupils suddenly dilated, and he fell into a daze. S.E.A. The Novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan retracted his hand, walked past him, and headed out of the dojo, thinking about picking some matured medicinal herbs today. After an hour, Duanli trembled and woke as if from a dream. He hurriedly stood up, looking around and calling out for the ancestor. "Why are you shouting? Do you think you can call for the ancestor so casually?" An impatient voice came, and Duanli saw a figure emerge from the depths of the forest. Upon seeing the person's face, Duanli quickly bowed respectfully. Grandmaster LV. Duanli said respectfully, his body tense. LV Xian walked up to him, looking displeased. Why were you calling out for the ancestor? Today, he had some free time and wandered into this forest. He had a vague impression of Duanli, remembering him as a 7th-generation disciple, given the number of disciples within the beginningless Taoist field. Just now, the ancestor taught me a cultivation technique. I wanted to thank him, Duanli answered truthfully. There had never been any incidents of fellow disciples harming each other within the beginningless, so Duanli felt no need for caution and answered whatever his grandmaster asked. Oh! LV Xian raised his eyebrows. He believed Duanli wouldn't lie, especially since this was the beginningless Taoist field. His master hadn't taken on new disciples for many years, let alone guided grand-disciples in cultivation. Could there be something special about this boy? LV Xian scrutinized Duanli closely, making the latter very uneasy. Duanli wanted to escape, but he didn't dare offend LV Xian. LV Xian couldn't discern anything unusual about Duanli, so he casually asked, "What's the name of the cultivation technique the ancestor taught you?" His master had created many techniques, and different techniques could indicate how much his master valued this boy. Destiny-defying divine skill, Duanli answered cautiously. Destiny-defying divine skill. LV Xian was stunned, standing rooted to the spot. Wasn't this his father, LV Baishan's cultivation technique? His father had been dead for a long time. Usually, he wouldn't even think about his father. Growing up, knowing his body housed another soul, he harbored deep hatred for his father, wanting to personally kill him. But gradually he came to understand. Because he was busy exploring the outside world, he missed his father's funeral. He seemed indifferent, but a thorn remained in his heart. Unexpectedly, his master still remembered his father. LV Xian recalled how long ago, his father often discussed with him how to cultivate Guan into the next sect leader. Those years were long gone, the specific memories were fading, and his father's face had become blurred. Grandmaster LV? Are you all right? Duanli asked nervously, feeling anxious. Could this destiny-defying divine skill have some great significance? He believed the ancestor wouldn't harm him, but he feared the significant background of this skill might be beyond his capacity. LV Xian came to his senses, showing a complex smile. Nothing, cultivate well. Since you've got the true teachings from the master, your fortune is deep. Cherish it well. If you disgrace this technique, it'll be the first to deal with you. These words made Duanli's legs tremble, making LV Xian shake his head with a smile before turning to leave. He needed to reflect on the past, to avoid forgetting his origins. LV Xian suddenly understood why his master often daydreamed. Perhaps it was to recall the past, to always remember who he was. In the following days, the news of Duanli receiving teachings from Guan spread throughout the dojo, arousing curiosity among all disciples. Even second-generation disciples summoned him to observe his talents and comprehension. Unfortunately, Duanli did not exhibit greater aptitude than other disciples. However, this did not disappoint the disciples. Instead, it heightened their anticipation. The master couldn't possibly mistake. Even if Duanli didn't seem exceptional, received by the master, he would certainly excel in the future. Thus, 10 years quickly passed. Since imparting the skill to Duanli, Guan had not sought him out again. This morning, he heard of a great power preaching at the endless Tao mountain, which piqued his interest, and he decided to attend. The great power was a Tao extreme Daluo immortal, with profound Tao practice. Listening to the teachings would definitely be beneficial. However, Gu An's true self needed to pick medicinal herbs, so he sent a clone, suppressing its cultivation level to the heaven-opening Daluo immortal realm. The clone moved at great speed, soon entering the endless Tao mountain's domain. In the dim sky, the majestic Tao mountain peaks loomed amidst the spiritual fog, mysterious and solemn. Guan flew towards an old acquaintance, Hongya Zi, who had been very hospitable during their first meeting, introducing him to many fellow Taoists. Since Hongya Zi was also here, it was natural to go see him. Approaching the Tao mountain of the great power preaching, Guan soon spotted Hongya Zi. As before, he was chatting and laughing with several cultivators, enjoying the moment. Hongya Zi was the first to notice Guan, exclaiming with joy, "Fellow Taoist Meng Lang, long time no see. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 758. Zhang Relai, Beyond the Heavenly Tao. Looking at Hongya Zi, Guan smiled and nodded at him. Hongya Zi, after saying a few words to those around him, flew towards Guan. It had been millions of years since their last meeting, and Hongya Zi was as enthusiastic as ever, holding Guan's hand and having endless things to talk about. Guan knew that the misty immortal court had had a rough time over the years. The Son of Heaven had been putting pressure on them, hoping they would participate in the struggle for the Son of Heaven, but the misty immortal court had its own pride and repeatedly refused. The Son of Heaven's patience had worn thin, and this put great pressure on the misty immortal court. Hongya Zi came to unwind and had no intention of getting involved in the matters of the misty immortal court. The two chatted for a while and then ascended Dao Mountain together. Along the way, Hongya Zi introduced Guan to this Dao Extreme Daluo immortal named Zhang Relai, who was born in the primordial emperor domain. He had once been part of the immortal class, later reincarnated and started his cultivation anew, breaking free from the celestial court's destiny. No one knew how long he had lived. When Hongya Zi was young, he had heard of Zhang Relai's name. His admiration for Zhang Relai clearly surpassed that for the white-haired ancestor. After ascending the mountain, the two arrived at Zhang Relai's dojo, which was vast and already filled with many people meditating. They found a corner and sat down. Listening to Hongya Zi recount Zhang Relai's deeds, Guan looked forward to seeing Zhang Relai even more. Although Guan's cultivation level was higher than Zhang Relai's, he likely had not lived as long as Zhang Relai. Even the venerable Gu Xianyu had lived through accelerated periods to achieve enlightenment, which requires the accumulation of years. Perhaps the conversation grew deeper, as Hongya Zi couldn't help lamenting the misty immortal court's stance towards the celestial court. Many of their fellow immortals who had ascended urged them to submit, but if the misty immortal court became the lackeys of the Son of Heaven, their status would surely decline, unless the Son of Heaven truly became the celestial emperor. Otherwise, the path in the celestial court for the misty immortal court would only get narrower. Hongya Zi couldn't understand what those fellow immortals were thinking, being so bold as to gamble the fate of the misty immortal court. Perhaps they have their reasons, Guan comforted him. Hongya Zi thought the same but was still filled with dissatisfaction towards those fellow immortal gods. Time passed quickly. A full 100 years passed before Zhang Relai descended. By then, the dojo had gathered hundreds of thousands of listeners, a grand scale with the lowest cultivation level being heaven-balancing golden immortal. Zhang Relai was enveloped in Dao light, with only Guan able to see his true form. This person had skin like white jade, a face difficult to distinguish between male and female, with an extreme coldness between the eyebrows. Wearing a golden robe and a crown with golden horns resembling a flood dragon, he appeared like a supreme divine king descending, with a dharma aspect of the world behind him, exuding overwhelming dominance. Because of the Dao light surrounding him, other listeners could not see Zhang Relai's true form, but this did not prevent them from being shocked by his aura. The moment Zhang Relai appeared, the entire dojo fell silent. I have traveled through chaos and Hongmeng and gained much insight. Today, I will expound the Tao of creation for you all. Zhang Relai's voice resounded, his tone indifferent but carrying immense authority that left no room for doubt. Creation? Guan was intrigued and began to look forward to Zhang Relai's lecture. Without further ado, Zhang Relai began his lecture. The vast Tao intent, as immense as the ocean, enveloped the entire dojo, making all the listeners feel as if they were journeying through chaos along with Zhang Relai. Chaos was even more vast than the Tao universe, with chaotic spiritual energy surging, everything appearing bizarre and fantastical, and seeming to have immortal spirits traversing without leaving any traces. Guan was also immersed in it. This lecture lasted 30,000 years. After 30,000 years, all the listeners felt as if they had been abruptly pulled out of a dream, feeling a sense of loss. Guan looked up at Zhang Relai, who still sat high on the Tao platform, radiating boundless Tao light, unrivaled in the world. Sitting beside him, Hongya Zi opened his eyes, and after a brief moment of confusion, showed a look of longing. Such vast creation Tao. If I could obtain even 1/10 of his achievement, I could surpass my current realm obstacle, Hongya Zi praised, and Guan nodded slightly, not saying a word. Sar the Oval Fire. net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He noticed that Zhang Rulai was gazing at a certain place outside Endless Dao Mountain with a serious look, seemingly on guard against something. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Gu An's true self followed Zhang Rulai's gaze, crossing countless universes and arriving outside the heavenly Tao, close to the void near chaos, where a deep red mist was approaching the heavenly Tao. Gu An's true self raised an eyebrow. He could sense the incredibly terrifying power within that deep red mist. It should be noted that he was now at the peak of the Xian Qi primordial immortal realm. If something could make him feel threatened, it was certainly not simple. Just as well, I have acquaintances in the Nine-Een Divine Mansion of the Underworld. The profound abyss ancient tree of the Nine-Een Divine Mansion is about to bear fruit. Perhaps we can witness a spectacle. Is that so? That's perfect. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 759. Dark Divine Sect. When Gu An's avatar traveled to the underworld with Hongya Zi, Gu An's true form maintained his usual life rhythm, occasionally glancing at the deep crimson mist beyond the heavenly Tao. The sweeping speed of the deep crimson mist was fast, yet slow compared to the vastness of the great Tao, and it wouldn't touch the boundary of the celestial Tao destiny in a short time. It was worth noting that the celestial court hadn't taken any action against the deep crimson mist. Guan saw numerous immortal gods fly into the palace of the Polestar, then scatter away together as if nothing had happened. Could it be that the deep crimson mist involved some great cause and effect that made the celestial court cautious? Guan couldn't help but think of Tai Hao. It was unknown when the ethereal celestial emperor would emerge from seclusion. Perhaps the immortal gods were awaiting the celestial emperor. As one great thousand world was completely conquered by another, the struggle for the Son of Heaven became intensely fierce. Both camps were utterly ruthless, casting these 3,000 great worlds into an era of dark turmoil. The greater the survival pressure, the more it would stimulate the birth of exceptionally talented beings. 27,000 years had passed since Zhang Rulai's teaching concluded. On this day, just past noon, Guan rested in the courtyard, his body lying on a rocking chair, gently swaying. I am the true monarch Qitian. Today I shall rescue the demon emperor. I dare anyone to try and stop me. A domineering roar resounded throughout the world, startling Shen Zhen, who opened her eyes before the artifact refining cauldron. Not just her, all the disciples in the dojo heard, which piqued their curiosity. Qitian? True Lord? Did you read your Journey to the West again? Shen Zhen turned her head to Guan, asking teasingly. Guan didn't open his eyes, his face covered by a round fan, softly saying, "Who knows to yell while rescuing someone, either arrogant or foolish." Shen Zhen laughed. Whether successful or not, at least all living beings will remember his name, and know of his act to rescue the demon emperor. Beneath the round fan, the corner of Gu An's mouth lifted slightly, but he didn't reply. Cultivators across the world indeed were discussing the name of true monarch Qitian. This guy truly intended to rescue the demon emperor. Confident in his broad divine skills, he believed it would be successful. Yet, before he even saw the demon emperor, he was jointly suppressed by the 9 sect cultivators. Though the 9 major sects had begun to slaughter each other, they never ignored the demon emperor, dispatching great cultivators to guard him without concern for the wider world, their sole duty to watch over the demon emperor. After several days of great warfare, true monarch Qitian was thrown into the demon emperor's cave mansion, enduring endless days of darkness together. Interestingly, this true monarch Qitian was related to Guan. His ancestor was How Long, once raised by Guan roaming the human world. How Long already carried a divine name. Occasionally returning to the Taoist field of the beginningless, he spent most of his time wandering and frolicking in the human world. His progeny numerous, truly upholding the dragon's dignity. In the dim cave chamber, heavy breathing echoed continuously. In the center sat a man in white clothes. Though his robes were torn, he remained unstained by dust, possessing an extraordinary aura. He was the demon emperor. In the corner of the cave loomed a curled shadow, like a fearsome giant serpent, from which the breathing came. If you're afraid, just bow and admit your mistakes to them, there might be a way out. The demon emperor spoke with closed eyes, his tone indifferent. At these words, demonic chi surged from the darkness, rushing towards the demon emperor. Silence! How could I be afraid? A furious shout erupted, revealing the fearsome shadow morphing into a disheveled man stepping forward. This man was none other than true monarch Chichen, with 2 sharp dragon horns sprouting from his head. He glared at the demon emperor, angrily saying, "Great sage equaling heaven was suppressed for 500 years without begging for mercy. How could I be afraid? Though I don't know who great sage is, 500 years can't compare to 1,000,000. Their patience far exceeds your imagination." The demon emperor spoke without opening his eyes. True monarch Chichen calmed down, confusedly asking, "They've imprisoned you for so long, for what? Couldn't they kill you?" "Of course. If they could kill me, they would have done it already. Perhaps in the depths of destiny. Heaven doesn't want me dead." The demon emperor's words piqued true monarch Kishin's curiosity. "What divine skill have you cultivated, making you unkillable? You should care about yourself first, figuring out how to endure the millennia ahead." True monarch Chichen, upon hearing this, sat cross-legged before the demon emperor and said, "Although I haven't been imprisoned for millennia, I've spent years in seclusion. At worst, I'll cultivate here." His eyes roamed, observing the demon emperor's exceptional aura, steady as a rock. He suddenly felt this might be his great opportunity. Just like the myths, surviving catastrophe could bring fortune. Perhaps he could learn the undying divine skill from the demon emperor. Sun Wukong in Journey to the West possessed an immortal body. Even the celestial court couldn't subdue him. The demon emperor remained silent, while true monarch Chichen watched him, scratching his head, pondering. The days of suppression were far harsher and more despairing than true monarch Chichen had anticipated. Endless hopelessness would be a form of extreme torment. Chapter 760. The Calamity from Beyond the Heavenly Tao. The white skeleton in the darkness sat motionless. Only the green flame in its palms flickered continuously, looking bewitching and eerie. After an indeterminate amount of time, its skull slowly trembled, dark eyes opened under its brow bone, representing the ultimate evil of the great Tao, profound and terrifying. It slowly lifted its right hand, its bones spread apart, and 7 small bones wrapped in black mist flew out, disappearing into the darkness in the blink of an eye. Having done all this, it closed its eyes again and continued to fall into slumber. Far away in the celestial spirit great world, Guan did not tell an Exian about the origin of the dark divine sect, but said that the dark god resided in the outer heaven, making an Exian frequently look up to the sky, but she could see nothing, which only increased her desire for a higher realm. Under the background of world conflict, the dark divine sect, although drawing some attention, was not yet powerful enough to participate in the struggle for supremacy, so the major immortal cultivation sects did not pay much attention. Unbeknownst to anyone, the dark divine sect rapidly developed, eventually infiltrating various major sections. Those who were disillusioned and consumed by hatred were attracted to the ideals of the dark divine sect, and they even saw the divine presence of the dark god in their dreams, which obsessed them and drove them to madness. 50,000 years later, the dark divine sect had become an unignorable force in the human world, with followers in every sect. However, the dark divine sect could not stop the wars in the human world. Years of fighting had built up irreconcilable hatreds among the sects, and even if the dark divine sect stirred up trouble within them, they could not put aside their immediate enmity and interests. In the depths of the universe before the world gate, celestial spirit god, Tai immortal monarch, the 72 immortals of Golden Cave, and Emperor Tianhong gathered here. Having regained his immortal position, Emperor Tianhong radiated with immortal light, brighter than the distant stars. At this moment, the faces of celestial spirit god, Tai immortal monarch, and the 72 immortals of Golden Cave were extremely grave. They surrounded Emperor Tianhong, all remaining silent. Celestial spirit god was the first to break the silence and asked, "Are we sure this is related to the chaos evil demon beyond the heavenly Tao?" Emperor Tianhong nodded and said, "The chaos beyond the heavenly Tao is vast and boundless. Whether it is truly a chaos evil demon remains uncertain. The only thing certain is that there is an infiltration from beyond the heavenly Tao. Their methods are unbelievable and hard to capture." The celestial court is also observing the changes. One thing I can confirm is that the Dark Divine Sect is a variable from beyond the heavenly Tao. Tai Immortal Monarch followed up. The rise of the Dark Divine Sect is indeed too rapid. Without being able to deduce its origin, we can only speculate from the cause and effect beyond the heavenly Tao. The 72 immortals of Golden Cave glanced at each other. Though they remained silent, the worry on their faces grew heavier. As heavenly court immortals, they were indifferent to the beings of the heavenly Tao but held great dread towards everything beyond the heavenly Tao due to numerous stories they had heard. In some respects, their indifference to the beings of the heavenly Tao was because their attention was focused beyond the heavenly Tao. What should we do now? If we let this continue, the celestial spirit great world may really come under the dominion of the Dark Divine Sect. A Golden Cave immortal asked. They were not considering the well-being of the celestial spirit great world's beings but were thinking of Guen. They were now serving Guen, and if the celestial spirit great world were taken over by the Dark Divine Sect, it would certainly affect Guen, which would signify their incompetence. Tai Immortal Monarch pondered. Perhaps it is not that difficult. That existence has not instructed us, indicating the crisis is not yet substantial enough to disturb him. With his cultivation level, he should be able to perceive threats beyond the heavenly Tao. These words made sense to the assembled immortals. S.E. The novel, F. Iyer. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guen could face the eternal life venerable, his cultivation level unfathomable. Regardless, although he has not given instructions, we cannot just stand by. Let's investigate together, Tai Immortal Monarch ordered. The immortals had no objections and soon dispersed. Celestial spirit god stood at the world gate, watching the departing figure of Tai Immortal Monarch and could not help but sigh. Just this composure alone is beyond me. Even knowing the cause and effect related to the Dark Divine Sect beyond the heavenly Tao, Tai Immortal Monarch did not hastily seek out Guen but continued to act, intending to prove himself. If it were him, he would certainly have sought out Guen, believing Guen possessed greater insight. But then again, if Guen could perceive it, what difference would it make if he asked or not? And if Guen could not perceive it, telling him would not change the already established existence of the Dark Divine Sect. According to his understanding of Guen, even if Guen could not fully understand the cause and effect of the Dark Divine Sect, he would still not be completely unaware of its presence. Celestial Spirit God no longer thought about it and turned his gaze to the world gate. Within the celestial spirit great world, the chaotic forces grew stronger, and the matters he could oversee became fewer. Guarding the world gate was his immortal position, a duty he had to ensure. At the very least, he could not allow intruders to break into the celestial spirit great world through the world gate. Celestial Court. Guangfa Immortal Palace. In the vast hall, Li Xuanmiao, celestial destruction god, and hundreds of other immortals sat, maintaining a certain distance from each other. Each presented their Dharma aspect, resplendent and beautiful, exuding the unique aura of immortals. Guangfa Tai Guang Divine Venerable sat at the head, overlooking all the immortals in the hall. Today's topic: how should the celestial court deal with the dark god from the chaos? Guangfa Tai Guang Divine Venerable spoke, and the immortals, his disciples, fell into contemplation even before he spoke. A white-haired elder at the front spoke first. The dark god differs from the chaos evil demons we know. He originates from the great Tao, sharing the same source. Simply eliminating his avatar cannot resolve the problem at the root. Perhaps we should start from what he desires. The dark god spreads faith, following a path akin to the celestial courts, relying on worship. If all living beings don't yearn for darkness, he has no opportunity. This statement immediately prompted another immortal to respond. Easier said than done. The battle for the position of Son of Heaven has already begun. The two candidates will not relent, and neither will the immortal factions backing them. How can we end the catastrophe of the 3,000 great worlds? If it doesn't end, the hearts of all living beings will harbor darkness. At this, more immortals began to speak, each offering their opinions, and some even quarreled, making the atmosphere in the hall intense. Li Xuanmiao sat near the front but remained silent, patiently listening. Celestial Destruction God sat at the back and dared not speak lightly, knowing this was a test by Guangfa Tai Guang Divine Venerable, requiring cautious handling. After a long time, Guangfa Tai Guang Divine Venerable interrupted. None of your strategies can avoid the struggle for the position of Son of Heaven. In your opinion, which is the greater calamity, the one brought by the Dark God or the battle for the position of Son of Heaven? As soon as he finished, the hall fell silent. No immortal or god dared to speak. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 761. Lifespan of 20 quadrillion years. In the Grand Hall of Guangfa Immortal Palace, it was silent. Those previously impassioned disciples were all silent, each with an unsightly expression, tinged with a bit of embarrassment. Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable swept his gaze over everyone in the hall, his eyes indifferent. Sir, the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Clearly, the disaster of the Tianzi contest is much more significant. How many beings can the Dark God harm? How many beings will the Tianzi contest affect? Even if the 3,000 great worlds can be reopened and remodeled, what about the beings that died? They will merely be replaced by new life. If the Tianzi contest is not resolved soon, other evil gods will continue to emerge. Suddenly, a voice echoed throughout the great hall, catching the attention of the immortal gods. Celestial Destruction God raised his eyebrows, showing a surprised expression, for the speaker was none other than Li Xuanmiao. Li Xuanmiao, a person who had ascended, had the least experience among the immortals present, yet he dared to utter such blasphemous words. Wasn't he afraid that some immortal gods among them were subordinates of the Son of Heaven? While being surprised, Celestial Destruction God also felt a sense of admiration. From a young age, he considered his bravery unparalleled in the world, but after arriving at the celestial court, he became cautious, gradually losing his sharpness and becoming like those detestable immortal gods, bullying the weak. Li Xuanmiao's comments voiced his thoughts, but he could never say them aloud. Under the gaze of hundreds of immortal gods, Li Xuanmiao was unafraid, staring directly at Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable. From this moment, the subject was no longer Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable testing the disciples but rather Li Xuanmiao testing Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable, at least in Li Xuanmiao's mind. Even if the disaster of the Tianzi contest is greater, how will you change it? In this celestial court, only the Celestial Emperor can alter everything. Seeing the Celestial Emperor is harder than becoming a supreme immortal. Even if you see him, what makes you think you can convince him? Do you think no immortal in the long years has ever suggested the same as you? Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable calmly asked while staring at Li Xuanmiao. Li Xuanmiao frowned, and the other immortal gods all let out a sigh of relief. At least Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable hadn't lost his mind. Although the two current contenders for the Son of Heaven might not shake Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable, once the Tianzi contest ends, that might not be the case. Historically, once the contest concludes, one side always rises, even if their final fate is tragic. In that stage, it isn't impossible for one to have the power to challenge Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable. Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable said, instead of complaining about the Tianzi contest, why not think about how to solve the chaos caused by the Dark God? You know it's much easier to deal with the Dark God than to end the Tianzi contest. You bring up the Tianzi contest because you don't want to address the chaos caused by the Dark God, right? The immortal gods showed awkward smiles, not daring to refute. Li Xuanmiao calmed down. Although he felt Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable made sense, he also thought Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable was avoiding the issue. While they thought about how to deal with the Dark God, would great powers like Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable consider how to solve the Tianzi contest? He didn't receive an answer, and Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable didn't continue on that topic but instead began discussing the great Tao origins of the Dark God. Using this topic, he continued preaching, deeply immersing the disciples in Tao intent, gradually making them forget their troubles. Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable looked at Li Xuanmiao. Li Xuanmiao had already closed his eyes, and Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable's gaze was full of appreciation and worry. Disciple, the waters in this celestial court are much deeper than you think. Your arrogance can help you soar higher or cause you to fall harder. Guangfa Taiguang Divine Venerable raised his eyes and looked outside the hall at the celestial vault, his expression turning worried. He sighed in his heart. Dark God, are you coming back? 150,000 years later. Although the human world was still embroiled in conflict, the sky remained blue. On this day, Guan returned from Human World Peak, feeling quite upbeat because his lifespan had reached 20 million billion years. He planned to rest for a night and break through the next day. Returning to Taoist Field of the Beginningless, he greeted the disciples training and sparring along the way, which surprised them. Before he could return to his abode, an Exion appeared ahead, urgently saying, "Master, the Dark Divine Sect has made a move. A dark heavenly god has emerged, and even the immortal gods are powerless against him. If the immortal gods can't defeat him, they will naturally retreat." "Aren't you going to intervene?" an Exion asked. In her opinion, those immortal gods were already above all beings' existence. If even they couldn't deal with the dark heavenly god, only her master could resolve it. If her master couldn't solve it, they could only consider escaping. Guan replied, "Don't be anxious. The dark heavenly god doesn't seek to destroy the world. Moreover, it's not yet time for me to act." He paused and continued, "Tell the disciples that opposing the dark divine sect carries the risk of body and Tao disappearing. I may have the opportunity to avenge them, but I can't protect them at critical moments." Hearing this, an Exion was reassured. Her master saying this clearly didn't take the dark divine sect seriously. The reason he wasn't acting now was likely to test all living beings. "I will warn them," an Exion replied solemnly, then saluted and left. Guan continued through the woods, looking toward other great thousand worlds. Besides the celestial spirit great world, 6 great thousand worlds were enveloped by the dark heavenly gods. 7 dark heavenly gods had already suppressed the immortal gods of each world, then began releasing destiny, seemingly preparing to establish a new immortal god system. The dark god watched quietly from the great Tao. This dark god had a Tao extreme Daluo immortals cultivation level, posing no threat to Guan was waiting for the opportunity to permanently eliminate him. Moreover, the deep crimson mist approaching the celestial Tao destiny had not stopped. Guan couldn't tell if the dark god was related to the crimson mist. From cause and effect, there was no connection yet, but they both entered the celestial Tao range around the same time. Even if there was no direct connection, they were likely related. "Dark god, why do you feel so similar to the heavenly court immortals, especially in the structure of destiny?" Guan murmured as he walked. Sitting by the tree in meditation, Duanli opened his eyes upon hearing Guan's voice. Seeing it was Guan, he quickly got up and saluted. "Grand disciple greets Grand Master," Duanli said respectfully, but Guan ignored him and walked past him. Watching Guan's back, Duanli hesitated for a moment before gritting his teeth and following, asking, "Grandmaster, I have questions about the destiny-defying divine skill. No one in the dojo practices this skill, so I can only ask you." Guan stopped. This made Duanli even more nervous. Looking back at Duanli, Guan said, "The destiny-defying divine skill is mainly about passing on the skill to others. Perhaps you could try passing it on once. It might bring you a surprise. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 762. Primordial Chaos, Outer Heaven. In the long years, all of Guan's hobbies would be transformed with his Tao intent, and the destiny-defying divine skill was no exception. After being modified by this Xian Qi primordial immortal, this skill had already transcended the mundane. Looking at the entire celestial spirit great world, no cultivation technique could compare to the creation of this skill. The destiny-defying divine skill was originally designed to serve others, but through Guan's modifications, incorporating cause and effect in the path of Qi fortune, it could transfer power to the successor, gaining the blessing of nature's spiritual energy and the power of cause and effect, absorbing spiritual energy to achieve greater power in a short time. It was applicable both within the heavens and within the scope of the great Tao. Overall, the destiny-defying divine skill was not considered a speed-up type of cultivation technique because the transferred power had to be cultivated by oneself, and the power gained after transmission would be calculated separately and could not be passed on to others. Although it was not a speed-up technique, it could constantly raise a cultivator's upper limit, or rather, transcend the limit. For cultivators with mediocre talent and not outstanding comprehension, The destiny-defying divine skill was a very good path to ascension. Now the spiritual talent of the beings on the nine-spirit continent was very high, but that was only within the celestial spirit great world. On the level of the Tao, it was nothing remarkable. Duan Li's talent allowed him to achieve the Tao fruit realm smoothly, but it was almost impossible for him to reach the golden immortal realm. The destiny-defying divine skill was tailored by Guan for him, and the reason for treating him this way was that Guan had waited for him for many years, involving a cause and effect, an old acquaintance. Surprise! Duan Li watched Guan leave, pondering his words in his mouth. He believed the ancestral master would not deceive him, but whom should he pass on the power to? Should I also take on disciples? Duan Li thought silently, but then he felt he couldn't act recklessly, passing on the power randomly just to become stronger. The person who could inherit his mana had to be someone with both moral integrity and quality. This required careful consideration. Coincidentally, he could set an example for all living beings on behalf of Wuxia. Even if the talent was insufficient, good deeds would always bring good fortune. Duan Li's thoughts were suddenly activated, his eyes became bright, and the more he thought, the more excited he became. He felt a sense of finding the meaning of his life's value. The Wuxia disciples harbored no grudges, cultivating for themselves, without contests for power and profit within the dojo, allowing the disciples more time to contemplate the meaning of their cultivation. Mere strength improvement no longer satisfied the Wuxia disciples. They had greater ideals. Protecting all living beings was too vast and empty. This world was so immensely vast that it didn't need their protection yet. What they had to think about was what they could do for this world. Duan Li's thoughts were not enough to gratify Guan. He helped Duan Li not because he hoped Duan Li would become great or accomplished. Compared to Duan Li's thoughts, Guan was now fully focused on breakthrough. He was considering whether to first enhance a Taoist technique for the upcoming breakthrough. So far, he felt that his cultivation technique and divine skills were sufficient. For instance, the myriad Tao extinction skill remained inexhaustibly useful to him as this Xian Qi primordial immortal realm's perfection, bringing him new insights from time to time. The last time he broke through, he even advanced his physique in advance. He felt his physical aspects were not lacking. He was missing only the sediment of years and experience. Even adding Gu Xian's life experience, his experiences couldn't compare to those of Xian Qi primordial immortals, let alone Tao extreme Daoyuo immortals. Those great powers would all undergo reincarnation to attain enlightenment, having experienced unfathomably long years beyond mortal spirits' imagination. Their time of cultivation and attaining the Tao far exceeded Guan's. Guan had been pondering a question all along. Would the celestial tribulation become stronger as his strength grew? From the perspective of the celestial spirit great world, it was true. Within the same realm, the stronger the talent and the higher the strength, the stronger the tribulation the prodigies faced. But one couldn't neglect strength because if the strength wasn't enough, dying under the celestial tribulation would be too tragic. In reality, many cultivators indeed died under the celestial tribulation. Additionally, the stronger the tribulation one faced, the more one gained post-tribulation. This was also why many prodigies strove to challenge stronger tribulations with all their might. After much thought, Guan still decided to enhance a Taoist technique as a gesture of reverence towards the evolving celestial tribulation. After all, the tribulation he faced was not something comparable to reality. This night was even longer than the previous nights. Just at dawn, Guan descended the mountain. As usual, he walked slowly, and the disciples along the way couldn't guess that he was going for a breakthrough. They thought he was heading out to idle in the clouds and wild cranes. After leaving the Wuxia Taoist field, Guan arrived at a deserted island, following his usual habit to open the lifespan breakthrough. The breakthrough of 100 billion years of lifespan was nothing for him now, but it could erase the cause and effect of coming and going, which was significant. Even though he hadn't encountered a being stronger than himself, he still chose to remain cautious. You have activated the lifespan breakthrough function. Based on your current realm, the following breakthrough locations have been chosen for you. 1. Path of the Great Tao. 2. Tai Ching Deep Realm. 3. Chaos Shen Primordial. 4. Deep Domain. 5. Tao Burial Mountain. 6. Outer Heaven. 7. Boundless Yin Yang Inverted Realm. 8. Final End. 9. Myriad Dao Divine Source. Many new place names appeared again. That meant these places could nurture existences surpassing the Xian Qi primordial immortal. Guan couldn't help but marvel at the profundity of the path of the Great Tao. No matter which realm he reached, the path of the Great Tao was still a place he could break through. The newly appeared place names were all full of allure. Chaos Xian Primordial must be a chaotic region outside the Heavenly Tao, but the specifics were unclear. Tao Burial Mountain, where Tao is buried. Outer Heaven, this name was too domineering, making one want to see it. Myriad Tao Divine Source was profound. Its mystery couldn't be discerned for the moment. Guan was also greatly interested in the previously appeared boundless Yin-Yang inverted realm and final end, which made him a bit perplexed. Where would be the best place to break through? After much thought, he felt he could go to Chaos Xian Primordial. At least this place could be pinpointed outside the Heavenly Tao's scope. Moreover, if he made some noise, it might even distract that deep crimson mist, buying more years for the beings of the Heavenly Tao. Guan made the decision immediately. Teleporting to Chaos Xian Primordial will cost 10 billion years of lifespan. Do you wish to continue? Continue. At the thought, the long-lost dizziness struck. Even though his realm was already very high, he still felt this discomfort, which made him have even greater reverence for the lifespan ability. Before he could see the root of his ability, he could never call himself invincible. He grew stronger through the evolution of the lifespan. He wouldn't worry too much about its source since it was meaningless. After all, he gained strength through it. What he needed to do was to take it as a goal and motivate himself further. After a while, Guan felt he could open his eyes. The moment he opened them, he immediately activated the lifespan barrier. An invisible lifespan barrier quickly spread out, making his heart instantly calm. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 764. Breakthrough to the Mixed Element Profound Venerable Immortal. What's wrong with him? The celestial spirit god gazed at the mysterious black-robed figure of the dark heavenly god, frowning as he asked. The other's posture seemed to be waiting for someone, which made him uneasy. One dark heavenly god already gave them a headache. If a few more appeared, how could they possibly withstand it? The other immortal gods did not answer him, equally perplexed by the situation. The Tai immortal monarch, with the highest cultivation level, looked in the direction the dark heavenly god was watching, but he saw nothing. Yet, his intuition told him that something was happening beyond the heavenly Tao. At this moment, not only them but those who were monitoring the presence of dark heavenly gods from various realms also realized that something unexpected might be occurring beyond the heavenly Tao. And in the celestial court, an unknown number of immortal gods were fixated on the chaos. The chaos was stirring an immensely terrifying great Tao storm, even affecting the edge of the celestial Tao destiny's domain, making the surrounding universes shimmer with multicolored light. Endless Tao Mountain. Atop each Tao mountain stood a great power, gazing at the chaos, the anomaly in the chaos capturing the attention of the entire heavenly Tao. And those powerful beings hidden within the chaos were also startled. The deep red fog approaching the heavenly Tao came to a halt. Within that vast red fog, massive figures seemed to rise and fall, looming indistinctly. No one knew what exactly was happening in the depths of the chaos, nor could anyone find the source. Underworld. On a barren land stood a colossal ancient tree, unmoved. This tree was the inheritance tree of the 9 Divine Mansion, known as the Profound Abyss Ancient Tree. Beneath the tree, a dozen people were meditating, their gazes all directed in the same direction. There is an anomaly in the chaos, Hong Yazi said grimly. Having roamed the Great Tao for so many years, he knew how terrifying the threat of the chaos could be. Gu An's avatar also frowned, seemingly as confused and uneasy about the unknown danger as the others. Hong Yazi turned to Guan lamenting, "It appears that not ascending to immortality has its benefits. At least we don't have to face the threats from the chaos." Guan shook his head, chuckled, and said, difficulties cannot be measured by cultivation level. Different realms face different challenges. That's true. Just the Son of Heaven alone could crush our misty immortal court. Hongya Zi sighed, and the surrounding cultivators began to joke about the misty immortal court. Hongya Zi did not get angry because he was the one who brought up the court's predicament, and the people around him were already good friends. Talking about the misty immortal court, their apprehensions dissipated. After all, the calamities of the chaos posed no threat to them. Although the celestial court was domineering, it never compromised in the face of the chaos threats, nor would it retreat, which was one of the reasons many beings aspired to the celestial court. This anomaly from the chaos persisted for 2 hours before everything returned to normal. When the celestial spirit god, Tai immortal monarch, and others saw the dark heavenly god fall back into the celestial spirit great world, they did not disperse. Instead, they continued to wait, in case more dark heavenly gods descended. In an unknown corner, Guan landed on a small island. Sunlight poured down, illuminating him, his body seemingly draped in resplendent radiance. He looked down at his body, expressionless, then pulled up his attribute panel to check. Name: Guan. Lifespan: 13, 060, 997/109, 822, 321, 049, 227. Physique: Primordial Infinite Creation Tao Body. Cultivation Level: Primordial Profound Venerable Immortal Realm Midstage. Primordial Profound Venerable Immortal. This realm surpassed the Xian Qi Primordial Immortal. From achieving perfection in the Xian Qi Primordial Immortal Realm to reaching the mid-stage of the Primordial Profound Venerable Immortal Realm, he expended 1.9 trillion years of lifespan, now left with only 109 trillion years. CTH Novel. F. Iyer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The results were remarkable. Guan now felt that the mana within his body was about to explode. If he wished, he could turn the 3,000 great worlds to dust in an instant. He could even disrupt the destiny of the heavenly Tao. This realm was incredibly powerful. Profound wisdom. What they spoke of as profound seemed to represent a power surpassing the primordial. Guan's primordial Tao fruit had already metamorphosed, beyond being measurable by mana. The primordial profound venerable immortal was terrifying. Even just the upheaval caused by breaking through was enough to throw the chaos into disorder, even attracting the attention of the heavenly Tao. During his breakthrough, Guan sensed many Xian Qi primordial immortals spying on him, with several auras coming from the celestial court. After successfully breaking through, Guan could encompass the entire heavenly Tao within his gaze. To all living beings, the boundless heavenly Tao appeared so trivial and insignificant to him now. The extreme power gave birth to an uncontrollable sense of supremacy within him. The so-called venerable immortal, sovereign over all things, standing above all immortals. Guan sat down to meditate, facing the sea, as the sea breeze blew his black hair. His gaze fell upon the celestial vault, traversing countless universes to lock onto that deep red fog. The deep red fog approaching the heavenly Tao was no longer mysterious to him. He suddenly felt an urge to unleash his might and fully assert his newfound pride. He decided to meditate for a few days and then venture into the deep red fog. After reaching the primordial profound venerable realm, the celestial court could no longer pressure Guan. Even the ethereal celestial emperor might be stronger than him, or some celestial Tao venerables might have reached such a realm, but he was not afraid. No realm had ever given Guan such enlightenment, seeing through all things, possessing the great divine power to destroy everything, making it impossible for him to convince himself that he was still weak. Thorough and genuine strength could pivot any Tao heart. Guan was striving hard to restrain this change in mentality. He withdrew his gaze, looking toward the end of the sea horizon, lost in thought. The sea wind fluttered his black robe and swept his hair strands. He didn't blink. His gaze was as serene as the vast ocean ahead. The sun gradually set, the twilight glow swept across Guan's face, and his expression remained unchanged from beginning to end. Sunset and moonrise. Days passed by. Gradually, silver lines appeared on Guan's left shoulder, intertwining and ultimately forming a white bird resembling an eagle. This bird had long feathers at the end of its tail. The feathers on the top of its head extended backward, displaying a faint multicolored hue. This white bird's pupils were gold and red. Although its size was not considerable, its figure appeared majestic, like a divine bird reborn into the world. This bird was the profound venerable spirit that Guan had condensed. It was a great divine power created by this realm, equivalent to an avatar. However, this avatar contained the same cultivation level as the primordial profound venerable immortal body, without independent consciousness, allowing its master to multitask with infinite wonders. The body could even revive endlessly through the profound venerable spirit. The profound venerable spirit could create worlds, act as the rules of heaven and earth, refine treasures, cultivate, all of which would benefit the main body. Even if Guan did not cultivate, as long as it cultivated, his cultivation level would continue to grow. And the profound venerable spirit was immortal. If destroyed, the main body needed only a thought to resurrect it. Both the body and the spirit could infinitely revive each other, supremely domineering. This truly paved the path to immortality. This made Guan think of the Tsangtian of the heavenly Tao. He suspected that the heavenly Tao was indeed created by an immensely strong entity, and the so-called Tsangtian was the manifestation of that entity's profound venerable spirit. From now on, you shall be called Wusher Divine Sparrow. Guan murmured, speaking to himself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The beings within the heaven-suppressing endless tower were connected to the tower's destiny, much like immortal gods, able to avoid true death through this connection. Unless the heaven-suppressing endless tower was destroyed, he could not completely annihilate these beings. He wanted this effect, not causing real sin, but allowing an outlet. Not going to the heavenly court was because he had no enmity with it, and he had disciples serving as immortal officials in the heavenly court, whereas the dark heavenly court would eventually clash with the heavenly Tao, potentially affecting the celestial spirit great world. Who are you? A thunderous shout burst out, resonating like rolling thunder, endlessly echoing. Guan raised his right hand, and the Cyan Hong sword appeared out of thin air. As the blade tilted, silver sword chi swirled around it, burning like flames. He stepped towards the towering Great Anger Evil. Seeing Guan not responding and directly attacking, Great Anger Evil was furious. He raised his right palm high and slammed it down. Instantly, grand Dharma aspects appeared around. Countless flaming meteors emerged, sweeping towards Guan like a cosmic torrent. Sword light shone. The Dharma aspects shattered instantly, and Great Anger Evil disintegrated into ashes. Guan stepped forward, each step flashing a distance, swift like Jing Hong. Numerous chaos evil demons descended to block the path ahead. Looking around, they were countless, covering the hall's end, and the patterns on the stone pillars came to life, manifesting terrifying figures. Guan did not stop, wielding the Cyan Hong sword, sweeping forward. Arrogant! How dare you break into the dark heavenly court, courting death? Stop him! Is he an immortal god from the heavenly Tao heavenly court? Voices filled with shock and anger echoed, but unfortunately, they received no response. They could only watch their companions turn to ash one after another, as the invincible silver sword light approached. Guan used the simplest sword techniques, but with absolute speed and power that none could resist. Even entities of the Tao Extreme Daluo immortal realm in darkness couldn't withstand a single strike from him. These dark beings and chaos evil demons relied on the dark heavenly court's destiny, not truly dying. Though it didn't grant Guan lifespan, he reveled in the slaughter, venting the wrath brought by his immense power. S.E. the novel, F. Ire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The heaven-suppressing endless tower, true to its name, possessed seemingly endless levels. Each level was connected by special space-time DAS, allowing continuous progression forward to ascend higher without flying upward. As Guan rampaged through the heaven-suppressing endless tower, he sensed an immense number of life forces pouring into the tower. The manifested beings were countless. Even after a short battle, millions of enemies had appeared ahead. Though Guan displayed formidable power, the beings of the dark heavenly court were fearless. Their immortality gave them the courage to face even the strongest foes. Sword Light pressed forward relentlessly, reducing everything to ash. Guan advanced nimbly, his aura surpassing entities thousands of times larger than him. Be it Dao Extreme Daluo Immortals, Miaojin Daluo Immortals, Heaven Opening Daluo Immortals, Innate Golden Immortals, Heaven Balancing Golden Immortals, or Tai Ching Golden Immortals, all were reduced to nothingness upon contact with him. A terrifying roar echoed as the resurrected Great Anger Evil leapt over countless dark beings and chaos evil demons towards Guan, utterly enraged. Feeling humiliated by Guan's innumerable divine skills, Dharma aspects, and great Taoist techniques burst forth but were shattered like illusions before Guan's eyes with a single slash. The resurrected dark beings and chaos evil demons rejoined the fight repeatedly, fearless of death. The more they killed, the crazier they grew, their rage and murderous intent surging. Meanwhile, at the top of the heaven-suppressing endless tower was a dim hall, where the only light came from the silver-blue radiance emitted by two stone pillars in front of the steps. Above the steps sat a huge stone chair, embedded with dozens of magical treasures, banners waving, swords refracting light, and long sashes writhing like dragons and serpents. On the stone chair sat a skeleton wearing a dragon head golden crown, adorned with bead curtains, with a golden long spear standing before it. The spearhead emerged from a Qilin head, and the spear's body was covered in golden scales, though these scales were tainted by a mysterious black substance, as if being devoured. He was the supreme of the dark heavenly court, Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Suddenly, a pair of cold eyes opened beneath the eye sockets of Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's skull, like an ancient fiend awakening from countless years of slumber, bringing boundless killing intent, enough to sweep across the all heavens and myriad realms. How many years has it been, finally, someone dares to intrude into my heaven-suppressing endless tower, wishing to shake the dark heavenly court with their own strength? Junior, you are too arrogant. An ancient and majestic voice echoed through the dim hall. As the words fell, the darkness seemed to stir with a dance of demons, making the hall suddenly lively. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 766. Reminiscence of Demon Slaying. The voice of the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable passed through layers of palaces, falling into Guan's ears, and also reached the dark creatures and chaotic demons pushing forward in waves. Their morale surged, and their roars became even more clamorous. Guan remained unmoved, continuing to kill his way forward. The person shining with silver light all over appeared filled with killing intent, but in fact, he had already closed his eyes. With every swing of his sword, old memories emerged. In his youth, beside the medicine garden, Zhang Chuanqiu taught him and Meng Lang swordsmanship. Though it was a very ordinary swordsmanship, he and Meng Lang practiced it earnestly. The scene shifted, and he found himself in the forest, receiving sword guidance from Li Ya. The wind blew, and the scene in the forest suddenly changed to a memory of him instructing Su Han. Flashes of the past continually appeared in Guan's mind, his sword growing faster, as if he wanted to sever the past. Crash! The ground of the palace ahead suddenly shattered, a giant dragon head as large as a mountain burst out, swallowing towards Guan. Along the way, many dark creatures and chaotic demons were swallowed by it. A flash of sword light. The dragon head shattered, and Guan transformed into a silver sword light, sweeping through the enemy ranks, killing his way into the 1,000-strong army. Wherever he went, no immortal or demon could stand in his way. The road ahead had no end. No matter how far he killed, he couldn't see the palace walls. As time passed, enemies also appeared behind and on both sides of Guan. He seemed to be in a vast black ocean, raising a magnificent straight line of seawater, vowing to split this ocean in half. Battle, extinction, resurrection, battle, re-extinction, re-resurrection, battle again. The dark creatures and chaotic demons continually repeated this cycle. At the edge of the black ocean, a figure appeared out of nowhere. It was the true form of Yuan Luo. After the destruction of the Chenkuan sect, Yuan Luo recovered his memory and learned that the struggle for the Son of Heaven was imminent. He thus escaped the range of the heavenly Tao. Recently, he returned to the dark heavenly court, his true form a Chaos Grudge Luo, which allowed him to easily join the dark heavenly court. He planned to make a comeback during the descent of the dark heavenly court upon the heavenly Tao, sweeping across the celestial spirit great world. The chaos grudge Luo had once brought disaster to the 3,000 great worlds, but his true form within the dark heavenly court counted as nothing. In this heaven-suppressing endless tower, he appeared insignificant. How is this possible? Yuan Luo's eyes widened in horror as he looked towards the distant silver sword light. He had lived for countless years, yet this was the first time he had witnessed such a scene. This was the heaven-suppressing endless tower of the dark heavenly court. In all his years, he had neither seen nor heard of anyone daring to breach it alone. He couldn't see the true form of the other person clearly. The more he couldn't see, the more uneasy he felt. The opponent gave him a sense of resolute determination. He gritted his teeth and immediately charged forward. Crossing the vast black ocean, a silver sword light illuminated his face, causing him to widen his eyes, reflecting the image of a sword in them. Boom! With a single sword strike, thousands of demons were obliterated without the slightest ability to resist. Guan didn't look back, nor did he deviate in direction, continuing straight ahead. Though it seemed like he was on the same level, he was actually rapidly ascending the heaven-suppressing endless tower. From the outside, the bottom of the heaven-suppressing endless tower shone with sword light. This sword light flashed and quickly ascended to a higher level. At a glance, the sword light seemed to spiral around the heaven-suppressing endless tower, rapidly charging upward. The dark cloud surrounding the heaven-suppressing endless tower surged violently. Dao spiritual chi flowed, lightning intertwined, reflecting the colorful Dao light of the Dao world continuously changing, highlighting the tense atmosphere inside the tower. At the top palace of the heaven-suppressing endless tower, the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable slowly stood up. Though he was a skeleton, he exuded an overpowering, sovereign aura. One figure after another appeared out of nowhere before the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, all with an aura surpassing even the Dao Extreme Dao Yuo Immortal. A total of 9, all Xian Qi Primordial Immortals. Lord, the opponent is a Primordial Profound Venerable Immortal. Do you know which Celestial Dao Venerable he is? Among the Celestial Dao Venerables who could be Primordial Profound Venerable Immortals, there are only a few, no need to guess. Anyway, they are already our enemies. Could the opponent be coming because of the recent chaos anomalies? Search * the novel Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Possible, the Celestial Court might think that we caused the anomalies. In my opinion, the Celestial Court may want to take advantage while we are unprepared. The 9 Xian Qi Primordial Immortals discussed, their tones full of hostility towards the Celestial Court. The Emperor Bone Profound Venerable calmly said, if it were those few Celestial Dao Venerables, they wouldn't hide their true form. Moreover, there is no Celestial Dao destiny on this person, he only comes from the Heavenly Dao. Upon hearing this, the 9 Xian Qi Primordial Immortals quieted down, each lost in thought.